Welcome to the Real Comic Heroes Podcast. Your adventure into the world of comic book movies starts here.
Greetings, citizens, and welcome to another adventure of the Real Comic Heroes Podcast. My name's Travis.
I'm Patrick with special guest.
Oh, special guest. I'm Jason. I didn't know I was special, but now I feel honored to be here. Thank you, guys.
You're special to us.
Well, you're special. Yeah.
In what may be your last recording ever, since you're, trapped in a hot room with no ventilation. So, yeah.
Who knew that England ever got hot? But, yeah.
That's true.
Now and again it does.
It's the one time.
It's almost like
welcome, Jason.
We got climate change all over the place. We got Seattle, that's normally a swampland, that's like 118 degrees. We got, I think, flooding everywhere. We got fires everywhere.
And yet the media never addresses how this affects podcasting, which is really weird.
I know. Yeah. I mean, we'll have a prime example if things go south on this podcast today.
Yeah, they'll never know our sacrifice.
We'll make it known.
That's right. Yeah, we won't shut up about it.
That's right. That's what you've all tuned in for, Weather Talk.
That's right. Well, let's shift from weather talk to maybe talk about some Batman Forever.
Maybe.
Who has some history with Batman Forever?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that we all do.
Do you remember
I could get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
It was 1995. I was probably 13, so, I was basically an adult in my mind.
Yeah.
And Batman Forever had my perfect timing of Jim Carrey as far as 13-year-old to Jim Carrey goes. Same sensibilities, same humor.
Of course.
I was big into Jim Carrey. He's all I remembered about this movie. Totally kind of forgot how Val Kilmer's Batman was.
Okay.
To me, it was more of a Jim Carrey movie, and Batman was, I don't know, it was weird. I forgot how much Robin was also a part of the story. But, to me, this was Jim Carrey and a whole lot of marketing.
Okay.
And it was just a goofier, almost Adam West kind of Batman, as far as, being a little lighter goes. Just a bit more, I guess, obvious in the kind of, sexual undertones.
Sure. Oh, yeah. This is
because I also remember Nicole Kidman.
Yeah. This is a horny movie.
Yeah. And, those are the two things I remember. Nicole Kidman and that outfit by the Bat Signal. And Jim Carrey's antics. So that is my experience with this movie.
So, had you not watched it much since first time?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't.
I have not watched it probably since the 90s.
Wow. Yeah.
I don't know how to follow that. That's really... I guess I'm a little bit younger than you, so I think I would have been maybe 8 or 9 when this came out.
Okay.
And pretty sure I saw it at the cinema. I remember one of your guests on the Batman Returns episode saying that they had the Batplane, like the Batwing that had the sub.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I had that when I was listening. I was like, oh, yeah, I had that toy.
Nice.
And, the Super Nintendo game, I remember having that as well for this. So I feel like this kind of hit at exactly as well, like peak Batman time for me. So this was the perfect movie to come out then. I guess I probably have seen it a few times since then. But what was funny is when I knew I was coming on to talk about this today, I quickly checked all my different streaming services. Of course, it's not on any of those. So it's like, I'm pretty sure I've got a DVD of this somewhere. So first, find where any of the DVDs are in this house, because I didn't know. So I found the DVDs. It was the top one. Like when I opened the case, I was like, that's ideal.
Nice.
Then what am I going to watch it on? So put it on my PC and was amazed that I did have something that would run a DVD. So that was great. And I kind of did all of this. And to be honest, I didn't even need to watch this. I remember this movie verbatim.
Yeah.
I was
wow.
And And honestly, actually, I was thinking, but there's probably bits like between scenes that I don't really remember. No, just a lot of kind of jump cuts from scene to scene.
Yeah.
So that's yeah. So I kind of remembered a lot about this movie, and I actually really enjoyed going back and watching it again. It was really nice to sort of have the opportunity. So I'm looking forward to talking about it. But I definitely feel like I have a lot of history with this.
Same with me. Like, I was 12 when this came out, and this was like peak Batman for me. It just hit me at the exact perfect time. I was super jazzed about this movie. Probably, like Patrick said, like the marketing you couldn't really get away from.
There's literally a line where he says, "I'll get drive-through."
Yeah, and that was all over. I feel like I have memories of both McDonald's and Taco Bell running promotions for this, which would be weird because they're owned by different, parent companies. But I think I had a glass, like almost like a coffee cup that it was clear glass, but it had like the handle was the shape of the Riddler's question mark, and there was like 4 of these. You could get each character one. That I vaguely remember that being McDonald's thing, but then I can also picture Taco Bell having plastic, soda cups with characters on them. But maybe it was all McDonald's. But yeah, there was a definite marketing push for all this stuff.
Oh, I googled for you. It was Batman and Robin Taco Bell.
Okay, so it must have been
the original Batman.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, this was just huge for me. I saw it in theater, fell in love with it right off the bat, and then from the time it was in theater till it came out on VHS, which must have been around Christmas time, because that's like the only thing I asked for that year. I may have talked about this on a previous episode, but yeah, this movie on VHS is all I asked for Christmas that year, and I didn't get it. I got like a poster. I got 2 posters for the movie. I got like some school folders with Batman Forever stuff on it. I got an action figure, and then didn't get the movie. I was so like crushed, but I kept it together. I didn't freak out. I didn't complain or anything. And then we had like a Christmas get together with friends that evening, and they had gotten it for me. So my parents had worked out like a cruel deception, probably because they didn't want me to only want to stay home and watch the movie all day. So we ended up watching it with friends of the family that night. So I got the movie, but it was I was crushed there for a couple hours, and then after
feels
that,
like they were almost inspired by the Riddler.
Yeah. I'm sure my parents just wanted to delay having to watch the movie again. But yeah, I mean, I wore that tape out. I watched this movie so many times at home that I also I can kind of remember the entire movie front to back. There weren't any surprise scenes or anything or things that surprised me or anything at this point. But yeah, it's a little different now watching it because it's been. I guess I was a guest on Batminute last season when they covered Batman Forever, so I did watch it last year, and then it had been probably a couple years before that, so it's definitely a movie that's slowed down in my rewatching rotation, but it's still there's still so much nostalgia for this one for me, so it was strange, a little strange watching it this time. What about taglines, Patrick?
Yeah, we only don't have as many on IMDb as we normally do, so...
Yeah, there really weren't any, on the posters that I can remember.
Let's see, we've got one that's rather uninspired. We have, in a chaotic time, justice wears a mask. Pretty generic.
That is very lame, yeah.
Yeah. We've got, this one it doesn't even sound right reading. We got, half a face and some riddles ain't nothing for the night.
Oh, jeez. That's embarrassing.
Yeah, I felt bad saying it out loud. Okay. Then we got the one that is probably the go-to. We've got Courage Now, Truth Always, Batman Forever. That's the most tagline-ish.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't remember that one, but...
That at least lets me know the Batman movie, I guess. Well, I guess the second one does too, but half a face and riddles and junk, but... Not the greatest.
No.
Is that it, really?
Might explain why there's no tagline on the poster.
Yeah.
So I feel this might just be a mismemory, but I feel like I remember the tagline like "the real game begins,"
Oh.
and I have a feeling like it kind of never made sense like why that was a tagline, because that's just what the Riddler says like right at the end.
Yeah.
But then part of me feels like maybe that was the tagline for the SNES game,
That
and the
would
Sega
make
Genesis
sense.
game. So that's probably why it's sort of burnt into my memory.
And
But
I could I could imagine that being, something in the trailer. Maybe it ends with that or something. Maybe could be. I don't know.
I mean, it makes as much sense as any of the others that you just read, because
Yeah.
that first one as well kind of sounds like chaos has taken over, and it's like a time period where there is no. It's almost like an origin story movie, right? That sort of somebody's coming to, but actually, Batman's kind of already got. He seems like he's got quite a good handle on stuff at the moment.
Yeah.
At the start of this movie, sort of, getting called in by the commissioner. He's in. He turns up. Everybody's there. Nobody cares that Batman's arrived. It's very casual.
Yeah. That's one of the things I like about the way this movie starts, is that it's not an origin setup for Two-Face. I really like the idea of established villains, because this movie doesn't need an origin. I mean, and they do it perfectly with the playing the footage from the courtroom, of when Two-Face got scarred with acid. Like, that's perfect. That's a perfect way to do it. You don't need that to start the movie, So I like that it starts and it's it's 2 years since I captured him for I guess the first time, but then it implies that maybe he's been running around for years, but prior to that, doing crimes. So
That courtroom snippet is my favorite thing ever. I love that part. With
Just
the
Batman
camera
in the courtroom.
angles from GNN, and Batman just randomly in the courtroom. It just looks so hilarious.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine that, like how he's just sitting there, like in the
Right.
courtroom.
That is one of those
I
scenes.
seriously laughed so hard. It was awesome.
See, that is one of those scenes where, like, you think if they just showed this 5 seconds earlier, because Batman like leaping over the barrier, it's dramatic.
yeah,
But the scene just before that, where he's just sat there with everybody else, listening to the proceedings, like, how long has he been there? And he's just sat there,
Yeah.
and then now he jumps over. So yeah.
I mean, it has to be like because
And it's
he's
daytime.
now.
That's weird.
Yeah, that's also weird. But like, I guess because he's an established member of the law, like he's no longer a vigilante at this point. It's like, clearly Gordon fully embraces his help, and so does all of Gotham apparently. If he's like he has to be present in court when these people are put to trial, because isn't that like a thing with some, like, if the arresting
he's
officer
the
has
arresting
to be
officer.
present?
Yeah,
Yeah, so
still awesome.
yeah, yeah. Going back to like the intro though, this is when it starts and the Warner Brothers logo morphs into the Bat logo, like that at the time was like mind blowing. I remember seeing that in theater and be like, whoa, just knowing you're in for something different and at the time like special, and then the names like flying at the screen was certainly different, and now it looks like it's so like screens, like 90s screensaver, style, like animation. So, and it's also like there's nothing Batman about that. There's nothing that screams Batman about these names with these big blocky text like flying around the screen. So, but
it's the theme of this movie. It's action, even in the mundane.
yeah.
So,
but I gotta say, the suiting up like montage, it starts with him. It still works for me. I know it's goofy. I know we get some, close ups on like his. I mean, they're quick, so it's not like a long lingering shot of anything. But you get like him putting on his belt, and then the chest with little nipple action, stuff like that. But it's also like he's grabbing his weapons and stuff. It is various accessories and stuff. I still like it.
Yeah, I think
good.
can hear Patrick just giggling. As you're talking about this.
I'm just picturing Travis slowing down the sequence.
Yeah. Didn't
He's
you
like,
guys?
oh yeah, look at that bat belt.
Well,
Oh,
I think
love
I'm
it.
with Travis on this one, in that I think this is all right because we've all seen Batman and Robin, so we know like the level it gets to.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like this, as you said, they're quite quick. Kind of, it is very dynamic, isn't it? Like grab this, grab that, turn here, turn that.
Yeah.
And it does work. It lingers a little bit too long in Batman and Robin on
Oh,
each
yeah.
sort of on each shot. So I think this is where they were like, this kind of worked. Can we push it a little bit further? And somebody should have said no. Just
Well, it doesn't take long to amp up the can we do this longer, because
Oh yeah.
that bat butt shot was like, okay, are we still here?
Yeah.
And where's your cape, dude? Come on. Put that
He
on
adds
already.
that later. Yeah. I think the music really helps with the intro though, because I love the Danny Elfman Batman music, but Elliot Goldenthal does the music for this, and it's really good. I mean, it's got some big bombastic stuff throughout the movie, and some of the Riddler like theme music is a little much. It's a little weird, a lot of synth type instruments, and just. But I love the like triumphant kind of sounding, the Batman march that plays it several times in this movie. But yeah, I think that helps with the intro here. But
So, got a quick question. This could be hit or miss, I'm assuming. So, for me, it was kind of, I guess it took me out of the movie, but I can still appreciate it. And that's like the cityscape
yeah,
and, the obvious models and gigantic statues and all this
Sure.
gothic stuff.
yeah.
I was curious how you guys felt about that aspect of the film, I guess. Because to
think-
me, it was kind of jarring.
Yeah, oh yeah. I think for me, that was something that stood out when I was a kid that I didn't love. I didn't love the way the city had become this neon lit, place with huge statues everywhere. Statues that are like part of the architecture, and
Yeah.
that gets. I think they amped that up even in Batman and Robin, but it's definitely here a little bit. And that I never loved that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it now, and it's odd. Like you go back to watch Batman Returns, and you'll see like, panning through the city, and there'll just be a giant face. So it's not like it came out of nowhere. Like they were doing stuff like that with Returns as well, but it wasn't as
it's-
exaggerated and in your face, I think. But
I think we just pinpointed the Joel Schumacher effect. It's just turned
yeah,
to 11.
kinda.
Eh.
Jason, what about you? How did you feel about the tone shift in Gotham?
Yeah, I guess pretty much the same as you guys, really. I think they're probably like for me the worst scenes are kind of when he's driving somewhere or being chased with the Batmobile, stuff like that. That's where to me it's just the city just doesn't look great, does it? It's
Yeah.
kind of there's always that thing of people going like, well, why would anyone live in Gotham? And it's like with the crime, you're like, well, that's because you're only focusing in on kind of the crime and that, but
Yeah.
probably it's it's a functioning big city. It makes sense that people would live there. But this is a Gotham that you would say, why would any normal, sane person live here?
Yeah.
Like, you'd arrive, you'd take a look around, and you'd go home, right? That's how that Gotham would work.
Yeah.
So I think it is. I think you're right, though, Patrick. I think it is everything is just amped up a little bit too much. It's just that it's kind of like, because I guess there was that kind of, it did amp up, didn't it, from Batman, from like the first Batman to Returns.
Sure.
There was kind of, it became a bit more gothic, a little bit more kind of exaggerated, and it just pushed it again. And then, I mean, I feel like we keep going to Batman and Robin now. Well, I do anyway. And then it pushes it again, even further. And you're always kind of like, we should have just stopped like half a turn earlier.
Right.
It would have been fine. But we've gone too far yet again.
Okay. So we're at one of like 20 action sequences with
Yeah.
the bank heist,
Right.
which is a lot of fun still to me.
Okay, good. Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed the absurdity of it. Still unsure about the whole eyeball sequence to the Statue of Liberty.
Oh, okay.
But that's a little weird. I still don't know how the physics of that and how Batman didn't die or anybody didn't die. But I suspend belief, but
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed the bank heist and the well, not thoroughly because I couldn't stand the guard. I wish
Oh
that
man.
dude fell into the acid.
Yeah,
That was
he's annoying.
conveniently at the bottom, but it was very I guess comic booky with the elaborateness, or almost James Bond like,
Sure.
with the elaborateness of the acid in the safe and then pulling it out of the with a helicopter somehow,
Right.
and Batman being able to swing it right back into place.
I always hated that. The safe returning
Oh,
perfectly
perfect.
Yeah, perfectly where it was. That always drove me crazy.
It made me laugh. I had
Yeah. I
That's
like-
what you. This movie's weird that way. You have to kind of just go with it
See, I'm-
because this
I'm happy
is
with
such a
that.
weird movie.
I
Yeah.
I like the kind of like that. I feel if you kind of pick a tone and you stick with it, we're all along for the ride, right? So like, and actually, this being kind of the first big dramatic scene, that works, right? Because it lets you know immediately, like, put your protractor away. You don't need to know the geometry. It's not. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
This is all. It's all fun. It's all make believe. Great. The bit in this scene that watching it back now irritates me. Yeah, I'm going harsh. Irritates me is the hearing aid.
Oh,
The
yeah.
fact
Oh,
that
yeah.
he has to use the guy's hearing aid to get out of the safe, because I don't mind that Batman is clever enough to attach a kind of a grappling line and laser torch the chain and it will swing back in perfectly. He's Batman. He can do that. I don't like the fact that Batman, who's that skilled, couldn't get out of the safe without using a piece of equipment that he didn't have on him. Like,
Yeah.
he
Oh,
should have
yeah.
had something to open it. And it's those little things that going back this time stood out to me. Were kind of just a couple of little things where I was just like, that doesn't fit with everything else you're telling me. Like, everything
Yeah.
else is fine, but that one, yeah. I
But
mean, what if
it's
he
a
didn't have a
little-
hearing aid?
Yeah. It's a little like
Game over.
MacGyver-y though. Like he's so quick to use anything in his surroundings to save him. But yeah, there's the other side of that coin, if you will, is he shouldn't have to rely on if that guy wasn't there, he'd be dead. So because I don't think his little cutting torch would have got him through that door quick enough.
And I don't think I've ever seen anyone do that to a safe on the inside.
Right.
Like,
I
is
was
there
think-
something you can turn on the inside?
I was
They're-
thinking
they're-
exactly the same thing. Just
I
when
don't
we
know.
were talking about this, I was just like, and also he's inside the safe. Usually people do that from the outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
And it seems like it would be more complicated than he makes it seem to be. It was like a gym locker.
Yeah.
It was like a school locker combination
Yeah,
on that
yeah.
thing.
Oh, I don't know. If you've ever watched the lock-picking lawyer on YouTube, I reckon he could probably do it in just as much
Oh.
time.
Okay, now I have to see that just by the name alone.
There's
Right,
the
and
trope
shot
that
it.
I don't love is when he's first arriving in the scene. He's coming up the elevator, and Two-Face is
yeah.
like there, ready with all of his goons, and it goes exactly how you expect it to go. The elevator arrives. Harvey says to blast him. They shoot the crap out of the elevator, and then the doors open, and he swings down from from above, and it's like that's an obvious, like, of course that's how he would do that, but I also think it'd be better, like, if you look at the scene, Harvey is like framed with a big window, like almost like a stained glass window. It would be so much better if he would play against their expectations and come in through the window. Just completely come at the situation from a different angle, like set them up with the elevator, but then come in from behind them. I don't know. Watching it this time, I was like, that would have been a better way to, bring him in. But
I thought
Yeah.
your issue was going to be the fact that it arrives, you hear like the ping, then they shoot the doors, and the doors stay closed until Harvey says, "Open sesame," and then
Yeah.
they open. And it's like, oh, it's this voice-activated elevator that he's got there. That's really weird.
yeah,
But no, you're right. I think coming through the window. I mean, later we see him smash through a big window, and we hear about
Yeah.
showmanship. So I think you're right.
yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was expecting, honestly.
Mm.
Like, I was surprised he actually did still come out of the elevator.
Right.
Because I'm used to him making, like, he even does it later, like the grand entrance or whatever, especially for like the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, if he would have just said fire a little bit early, could have taken care of the bat. I just like picturing him on the top of the elevator, and then he sees the bullets are already started, and he's like, God bless him. But at the very least, we know that Die Hard does not exist in this universe.
Right.
Because that was very Die Hard.
Oh yeah, that's what we need, like a Die Hard movie with Batman. Or like
Yeah, that'd be cool, where he's
Bruce
trapped
Wayne
or
that-
trying to help people.
Yeah. Bruce Wayne
Yeah,
that
Bruce
doesn't
Wayne.
have access to his suit or anything.
Well, we get a little bit of that later, I guess,
Yeah.
but it doesn't end well.
Yeah. What do you guys think about Tommy Lee Jones? Just his performance in this movie.
I was ready to say something, but then there was this huge sigh that came from Patrick, so I just kind of am waiting.
No, go for it. I can't bring myself.
He's going to hate this
I'd
then.
love to hear.
I love Tommy Lee
Okay.
Jones in this movie.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I think he's, like, especially watching it back, I actually think he's funnier in this movie than Jim Carrey.
Oh,
Like
oh
now.
yeah, for sure.
Like, going back and watching it, like, Jim Carrey's so, we're doing it again. He's so dialed up to 11, right? And I feel like Tommy Lee Jones is pushing it to a 9 or a 10, where it kind of can sit quite comfortably in this universe. And then Jim Carrey's just gone a few steps beyond that. So
Right.
this trend is coming again. I think he's really good in it. I if I'm not wrong, I think he did it for his kids or
Yeah.
something like.
Yeah.
So that's always a great motivation to take a role. Maybe I don't know, but I think he's all right. I think he does a good job. I understand that obviously it's a bit weird because this is sort of a continuation
right.
from Batman Returns, and there was some recasting and other roles remained. So it's yeah.
Yeah, it's a shame we never got Billy D. Williams as Two-Face. I don't know what that performance would be. I don't know if it would be this amped up. I've never seen Billy D. Williams really anything other than Lando and as Harvey Dent in the first movie here. But that would definitely be interesting. I know they're doing a comic book continuation of the Burton Batman universe, and they're portraying Billy D. Williams as if he'd continued playing Harvey Dent in that sequel or whatever. So that'll be interesting to read, but you're not getting that performance out of something like that. But
I think he voices Two-Face
right.
in like the Lego Batman movie, I think, doesn't he?
yeah, I think so.
And a few other things. So, and I think in that, that's obviously a more comedic take on the character. So I've no doubt he would have done like not okay. There's two universes, right? There's the one where Burton does Batman 3, and he would have played it probably a lot straighter in that. But I feel like if he'd been put into this specific one, he probably could have done a similar role to Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah, I do wish we got more of this calm Harvey Dent performance that we see, like really only, I mean, twice maybe. We get it here in the introduction, and he's just calmly talking to this guard until he turns to Two-Face, and then you get it like when he's kind of at the end of the movie when he's about to when he's going up against Batman.
He's like, you've always been a good friend.
I like that subdued performance. I wish we had a little bit more of that throughout the movie, but that's all right.
Yeah, that was the beef I had with it, is that it was all the maniacal side and not the Harvey side. Like, there wasn't a tortured character for the most part. It was just chaos. And I don't know, for Tommy Lee Jones, it was like he was trying to be Jim Carrey, especially in at the end where he's like, and me
right.
Like, I don't know, the
amount of laughing.
Maybe it's because I'm not accustomed to him acting that way,
sure,
so it seems like he's going like to level 15 instead of 11. So, and Jim Carrey is just Jim Carrey, like he's always at 11 for the most part, and it doesn't come off as over the top because I'm expecting it. So that might be part of it, is just bias from past performances. But I don't know.
I think with the portrayal of Harvey Dent Two-Face, my kind of, again, looking back at it now, what I kind of didn't rub me the wrong way when I watched it when I was little, but looking at it now, and especially having read a lot more comic books and seen a lot more stuff since then, I find the coin is almost pointless in this for him,
Oh, yeah.
because he flips a coin, and when it's not the result he wants, he just keeps flipping the coin until he gets what he wants.
Yeah.
And I mean, and even in the beginning, he flips a coin, the guard should be spared, and he puts him in, and yes, Batman saves him, but you're kind of like that. What would you have done if the coin had gone the other way? You'd have done exactly the same thing. So that what is the purpose of the coin at this point? And I kind of like the idea that he is, because and I mean, spoilers for the end of this movie, but that comes back right at the end. He can't make a decision because unless the coin, and then that's sort of his undoing. But I just feel like he's not that dependent on the coin at this point. So do you know what I mean? You can't have it both ways. You can't tell me unless he lives his life by this coin, but also he just flips it as many times as necessary to get what he needs.
Yeah.
Because if that's the case, shoot Batman, go home, keep flipping the coin until you get the one that says you should have shot him, and you're all right. Just do it after the fact. It's no problem.
Yeah, because when he flipped with the guard anyway, he said the best way to catch a bat is with live bait.
Yeah.
So was the alternative to put a dead guard in the safe?
Or just kill the guard right then and there and worry about trapping
because he's got to get Batman
later.
in the safe somehow.
Yeah.
So does he like Weekend at Bernie's the guard and just puts like sunglasses on him and puts him in the safe after he's killed him? Like, I don't know. It's weird.
One thing I love about this movie, and I think my appreciation for it has grown, and because it's something I never picked up on as a kid. I love how much this movie focuses on the psychology. We meet Chase Meridian, and she's a psychologist, so she's, there to as a consultant because they're dealing with Two-Face and how psychologically scarred he is. And her and Batman kind of have a back and forth about Harvey's psyche, and then like that just continues throughout the movie. And I really like the way the movie goes into that so much. It keeps coming up, especially with the things that are going on throughout the movie with Bruce and the trauma that he's remembering, and of course Robin then plays into that because it brings up a lot more of Bruce's past. And I really like that this movie is about the psychology of being Batman. And I think I guess to expand on that, I think Nicole Kidman does a pretty good job as Chase Meridian. I guess at a certain point, she just becomes a damsel kind of in the third act, but I think up until then, she's got some good scenes.
Yeah, I mean, becomes a you're right. She's quite sort of strong and independent, as we see also from that kind of like boxing scene at one point. But I mean, my first note about her character is just Chase is so hot for Batman.
She is.
He arrives and that's it. Like there's not even a breath between him arriving and her just like all over him.
Yeah.
And I really love when she does that kind of like, oh, have you got a first name or should I just call you Bats? And she's sort of so smug, and he's gone.
Yeah. And this is I think Joel Schumacher knows like what he's doing. He's like, I'm gonna make this horny movie for 13-year-olds. That's exactly what he gives. That's exactly what they put out there. Watching it now,
rooftop scene. Oof.
What's that? Yeah.
The roof, like her negligee, esque outfit. It's like she might as well be going auga, auga.
Yeah.
Well, with that scene, is she partially responsible for creating the Riddler? Because doesn't he leave the factory tour?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because there's the bat signal, and when he gets
That's
there,
true.
it's that. So he could have stayed for another 5 minutes and just calmed Ed down a bit.
I don't know about that. Because I think like Bruce I guess he did get called. He did exit the scene because the bat signal was there, but he had already made up his mind that he wasn't interested in what Edward's selling. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
think we can blame. What's that?
It was more on creepy Edward because he's like, that's not good enough. I need an answer now.
Well, as soon as he says, manipulating brainwaves, that's when Bruce is like, nope, we're done here.
It's like, check, please.
Yeah. You know who? This is a movie with a crazy Tommy Lee Jones performance and Jim Carrey, But I can't stand Ed Begley Jr.'s performance as Stickley. He's so, I mean, he's over the top for me. You know,
Yeah.
I just cringe when he's confronting Edward.
Yeah, a little I guess lack of reading the room when you're tied to a chair and a guy's clearly psychotic.
Yeah.
You're fired.
Yeah.
This will end well.
There's
But
also
again, this movie, it's not subtle.
no, it's not. You know what is subtle?
You're this character.
You know what is subtle is Jon Favreau's blink and you miss it little
Yeah,
appearance.
I missed it.
Yeah,
He's a security
he's
guard, isn't he?
No, he's one of Bruce Wayne's like entourage as they're walking, you know, down the they call it factory, but you know this office that they're
Factory / hydro dam.
yeah.
Okay.
Maybe it is Happy Hogan, and he's just
Oh, there you go.
spying for Tony Stark, and this
Yeah.
is how
Oh yeah,
the universes collide. Interesting.
I like that.
What I find
Crap,
interesting
my
about
mind
that
just
whole
blew up.
what I was thinking when I watched it back this time with you know, Enigma's going mad about this thing, right? He's got this project, it's going to change the world, and then he ties up his boss, he's got him there, and it's a 3D TV, right? That's that's a big thing. And I've just got, I know it's just going, Edward Nygma is James Cameron. So is this what would have happened if they told him he couldn't make Avatar? Like,
Probably, yeah.
Hey, took one too many trips down deep in the sea, messed with his
Yeah, you
noodle.
got
I
the
could see
bends.
that. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
I wonder.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I wonder what the alternate reality version of this movie. If he moves forward with this project, he is just I guess like a media mogul. I mean, he doesn't know it when he's creating it that it's going to give him, you know, suck people's brain waves and memories and all that. So I guess his end game, is just to create a new form of entertainment.
yeah, you kind of get the idea, you know, when he's saying lines like, you know, why be brutalized by an uncaring
Yeah.
world and things like
Yeah.
that. It seems that he's somebody who's clearly had like a rough go of it, and probably, and you know, and we see that even in like in his amazingly decorated apartment.
Yeah.
So you kind of get
Oh,
his vibe, but he's clearly somebody that you can imagine what would want that escapism.
Yeah.
And that's what he's trying to create. But it is weird, right? Like when there's, you know, when he does get successful, and then that's that kind of like, oh, Bruce, are you yesterday's news? And you think, well, surely these companies are doing very different things. Like,
Yeah.
just because an entertainment company does well doesn't mean every other business goes under. It's like there's
Right.
just this tiny pot of money, and they can only share it among so many people. Like it's.
They
I don't
do
know.
play it, as if these guys are competing for the same things, but I guess they're really just competing to be the Gotham's most eligible
Yeah.
bachelor.
Yeah. And I think I'm just impressed that it succeeded so well with a name like The Box for something that's
Yeah.
clearly a popcorn popper or a blender.
A blender, with some popcorn shoved inside with little,
Yeah.
little wings on. Yeah,
But it's
I like that it
Box.
starts out as something that that Doc Brown kind of wears at the start of Back to the Future, and then it he transitions into like the production model ends up being like this kind of sleek, little simplified version.
It doesn't make the other person dumber. It didn't seem like it.
Yeah, I mean,
but
the
I
newscasters talk about how it's like, it just turns people into zombies, and that I don't know. Yeah, I guess it kind of maybe doesn't have a lasting effect. Maybe it wears off, but it
Because
definitely
they look that way when they're watching,
Yeah.
like they're slack-jawed and
Yeah.
just staring. But then at least Stickley comes back to normal, it seems like.
yeah.
But I guess we have to test his IQ all of a sudden because I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah.
I
There,
couldn't
there
figure
wasn't
out.
much time to test his IQ before. Well, no,
Yeah.
clearly you've already pointed out that it must have taken a dip because he decides to threaten him while
Yeah,
tied
that's
to his
true.
Yeah. One of my one thing in the whole Stickley Nigma sequence that makes me laugh every time is when after Edward has shoved Stickley towards the window and he's teetering on the edge. It's the way Jim Carrey runs at the screen and he's like, "Hang on!" It's so Jim Carrey. But it is
I'd say
funny.
that about most of his performance.
Yeah.
It's so
But
true.
I think it's so funny, just the idea of him pretending to care. He cares about his equipment. I guess that's
Well, yeah, that's what he cared about.
But,
That's the funny part of it.
just him running and screaming, "Hang on!" I really like.
And then the video editing he's able to do to make it look like a suicide.
That's impressive.
Right.
They needed to hire him for this movie in certain spots. Because, woof.
Yeah.
Yikes, CG.
Yeah. You
Did
know
not
what?
age well.
That reminds me of what the point I was trying to make earlier that I completely blanked on is that this city is more opened up than any of the previous Gothams we've seen.
Yeah.
Because the previous Gothams have been like a town square, the same 4 buildings, depending on which angle, which way you point the camera. In this, because they're using a lot more CG for the skyline and like traveling through the city, you get a sense of Gotham as being this big sprawling city. So you're not seeing the Monarch Theater on this corner and the courthouse on this corner and, Shrek's department store on this corner or whatever. The previous 2 movies felt very like small, I guess. This one feels more lived in, more, I guess, a real city, even though it is painted with neon and, giant statues, but
It's a real city. You just wouldn't want to live there.
Yeah.
Uh,
I like that it's got all these gigantic monolithic statues, yet people are still crammed into tiny apartments. I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Yeah.
You see it later on when he gets to drive up the building.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Again, subtle.
Oh, well, very subtle. Yeah.
A giant phallic-shaped car driving up the side of a building.
Oh, let's talk about the car. We saw it earlier, but yeah, this is the new Batmobile, and it's designed by H.R. Giger, who will, of course, design like a lot of the alien like biomechanical stuff. I love this Batmobile. I know it's weird, but I really like this one.
I'm mixed on it.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about the blue, whitish like light.
The under.
That's
Yeah.
It's cool to look at, but it's a bizarre choice for Batman. I think is what
A bit
he's all about
ostentatious.
stealth.
Yeah.
But he also has a turbine engine in the back of the
Sure.
car. So is he really about stealth? It's very, very confusing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can see where people would dig this design. It's very cool looking, even with its obvious inspiration for the design, I guess.
I mean, again, it fits. It fits it fits this universe, right? So it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say I probably like it more than the Tumbler. I've never really liked that Batmobile.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this, like, you're not gonna mistakenly forget that this is Batman's car, right? It's pretty obvious. So
Yeah.
I like that.
I love that giant fin on the back. I don't love that it splits open, like when Robin's driving it. I don't know why it splits open, but I do like the big fin, and then the smaller fins on the rear fenders. And there's some other really cool designs for this car too. There's one that's looks more like a 30s kind of roadster, but it still has that same fin on the back. So I like that stuck around, but.
Still disappointed we didn't get to see him go through the drive-through though. But I think I still like Keaton's car better.
Yeah, that's still my number one. But
again, this one's just dialing it up. I think it was already perfectly crazy to look at. but
honestly, the Burton Batmobile would have looked weird in this movie.
Yeah, it wouldn't have fit in.
I feel it's like someone who had the Burton Batmobile and then they watched like the first Fast and the Furious movie and was like, "Oh, we need to stick neon lights under everything to make our car look cool." And he just did that.
That is the perfect. That is exactly what I was trying to get at. Yes, it is that exactly.
Nice.
I have a question about the first riddle, and
oh good lord, yeah.
And it's more just it's kind of hard to pinpoint at what point he becomes the Riddler, because like later we see him still kind of trying to figure out who he is as a villain.
Yeah.
But he's already like, and the whole killing Strictly thing seemed sort of opportunistic. He got caught, so he experimented on him and he killed him then and there. And it's sort of like, but then immediately he was like, right, and I'm gonna do some riddles for Bruce Wayne, and it's just and also it's as we come to discover, it's not even like, oh, and here's a riddle to mess him up. It's like, here's part one of a number of riddles I will be leaving over the course of a period of time. And it just sort of,
Yeah.
it's I don't know, I just find it a bit, it just seems like maybe that riddle that he leaves at Wayne Manor on the gate, like maybe that should have been the first riddle almost. Like, I don't know.
Okay.
But it just kind of seems like it comes a little bit too early in his character arc.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I can see that.
I like the way when you first meet him, you know he's obsessed with Bruce Wayne. So I kind of like that it's something he's already kind of got cooking in his head, and then once the brain drain thing happens, then it flips a switch and he's full on, because he accomplishes a lot in an evening if you think about it, because he kills Stickley and sets up the computer generated suicide, and he creates this riddle. And if you think about it, like, all the riddles are obviously connected to each other, so he must have, maybe he didn't build them physically all, but he at least knows exactly what he's going to do with each riddle.
He'd Googled all the riddles. He'd found the ones that fit. Right, yeah, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, but I like that it starts as Edward, as his obsession with Bruce Wayne that leads him down that path. So I'm okay that he's not like full on Riddler identity, until.
I like that obsession bleeds over. Like what I like is that he's not like obsessed with Bruce Wayne and then betrayed by Bruce Wayne, and it's like, well, now I'm going to get him, end of story kind of thing. Because we see when he sort of becomes that media mogul himself, he is like a copy of Bruce Wayne, right? He's trying to wear the same suits, have the same look, the same style, and you get this idea of him just kind of trying to imitate, like, to him, Bruce Wayne, that's the model of what success is, and like he wants to look like that, or at least that's my take. Because even she says it to him, doesn't she? She's like, oh, why don't you look that good why don't you look so good in that suit, or something like that. It's that kind of
Yeah, it's kind of funny that both Riddler and Batman want to be Bruce Wayne.
Yeah. And again, it all, like, psychology is a big part of this movie, and it's like, even like Riddler is dealing with his own psychology, and that's what leads Bruce Wayne to meet with Chase to figure out this riddle, who's leaving the riddles, and she's like, well, it's someone that ultimately wants to kill you,
a wacko.
A wacko,
yes.
I also
And
noted
when she said that, I was just like, what?
Yeah.
Come on. This is so stupid.
Yeah. But that's dialogue that a 12, 13-year-old can, like, oh, okay, a wacko, yeah.
Okay. What about the Rorschach test?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
When he looks at that Rorschach test and he's like, yeah, oh, you got to think for bats. She's like, no, people see what they want. Who is seeing anything other than a bat in that picture? That is...
Yeah. I was like, well, I guess I'm Batman.
Yeah.
Because that's what
this
I
is
saw.
just a Batman test.
Yeah. I think it'd be more suspicious if you don't see a bat.
Right.
Because then you're clearly covering up that you're Batman.
I actually quite like that scene, though, where he first meets her as Bruce Wayne.
I do too.
I think it's, it's sort of him. Again, it's, he hears what he imagines is a struggle or something happening in the room. He knocks down the door. I love the line when he's like, "Oh, I have an appointment. I'm Bruce Wayne." She's like, "Good, you can afford to buy me a new door." I think that's great. I think there's some good writing here. There's some writing for 13-year-olds, but then I also think there's some quite good little one-liners.
I want to say that because I read the book, the novelization for this when I was a kid, and if I remember right, as he's walking up to her office, and he starts hearing the sounds of what sounds like a struggle, like through his head, he's thinking, oh, Two-Face came to her because she's obviously involved in this case to get Two-Face, and so he worries that he's come to take revenge on her for something. So, and I think that's kind of, I don't know if that comes across as obvious, like that's why he would be concerned, is because Two-Face might come for her. But that is, at least in the novelization, that's where that's coming from.
I just kept thinking, how strong is Batman? Because that door looked like it was made of balsa wood, and it was split, but it looks like it should have weighed like at least 100 pounds.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just found it comical. Like, he's just like clearly lifting it back into place, and like
I mean,
I don't know. It had no sense of weight whatsoever. That's all I kept focusing on.
that's Batman, baby. He's like he can do the he's like
damn.
peak.
I just wonder if
human.
there's
Human.
a scene that was cut of her just like looking at the Rorschach test, looking at the door, back to the test, back to the door. He is Batman. It's like then and there.
Yeah.
Nope. It's the touch of his lips that tips her off eventually.
Mhm. Yeah, I do have notes on that. We'll get with that later. The line where it goes from this scene takes us to the circus. It doesn't really work when he's like, I got to get you out of those clothes. Like that doesn't work. It never really.
And into a black dress. What did you think of that?
Right. Obviously, I'm talking about getting you into a cocktail dress.
And not that that's not a creepy way to do it either. But
Yeah. So that's a little unfortunate. That doesn't really hold up, but
it's full of what 13-year-olds think would be a good line, though.
it is. That's the thing. It's like it is written for, our demographic when we saw it.
I think like 13 and below, this is the sweet spot for that movie. Because the younger kids aren't going to get all the gross innuendo and horrible lines.
Yeah.
But the 13-year-olds will get it and think it's awesome. I don't know. I couldn't imagine, like, as an adult watching it, I was doing a lot of eye rolling.
Yeah.
But as remembering how I felt about it kind of helped me get past that. So it's a very difficult movie to, like, get your head around.
Sure. And watch now with
30 years later.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's just playing up the whole Bruce Wayne kind of persona. So maybe he himself internally is cringing when he says this, but he's like, but this is how Bruce Wayne would do it.
Yeah.
This is how Playboy acts.
Exactly.
That's funny because I never, with this version of Bruce Wayne, I never get the idea of him playing up the character of Bruce Wayne. Keaton doesn't do it a whole lot either, but I haven't really ever thought about that.
I feel like he does it slightly, but it's not as kind of bumbling as other ones. Because I feel, as we'll get to in a minute, like his interactions with Dick Grayson, like in the the cars and the bikes and all of that, he's sort of got a kind of that kind of Playboy-ish persona, but it's not as sort of confused as like he's not leaving a pen in a plant pot or stuff like that like the classic Keaton would do.
So how'd you guys feel about the I guess admission in the circus where he's like, I'm Batman and nobody can hear me except everybody right next to me? I
like it. I like that he is willing to just out himself, but it falls on deaf ears, kind of. They shoot it well enough that the crowd audio gets really loud as he's like finishing that word. So,
I mean,
I don't know. It just felt
think,
weird.
I think something also to recognize though is that Harvey Dent is correct.
Yeah,
he comes in and he's like, one of you is going to know who Batman is, or one of you is Batman, and he was absolutely right. Like it didn't pan out for him, but you can't fault the logic because he was correct. I might come back to this later when we perhaps talk about who's the best villain of the show. I don't know, but anyway,
let's. I mean, we're at the circus. Let's talk about like for some reason. I think as I'm watching this movie, almost every time the circus, it surprises me. It's like, oh yeah, Robin's in this movie. It's like it's because it's not right. In your face in the first, I don't know, half hour of the movie. I don't know exactly when this takes place, but it for some reason it's like, oh yeah, we go to the circus, we do the Flying Graysons thing, and then that brings us Robin. It just for some reason it always kind of sneaks up on me, timing wise, I guess. I don't know. I think I'm just invested enough in what's going on with like Riddler and Bruce and Two-Face and stuff. Well, Enigma, anyways. That it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna do a Robin story here.
Yeah, we get the Flying Graysons.
Yeah, no, I love what they do there. I think the Flying Grayson
into the Deathfall sequence. I was actually like really into it.
oh, okay, yeah.
Where they took the net away.
Yeah, I think it's shot beautifully. Yeah, that stuff that really works for me.
Yeah, I think it's a great introduction to that character,
Yeah.
like having him do that, because it already kind of shows you the skill. Because like later he's going to start doing stuff, and you're like, well, you're not Batman, you weren't trained to do all
Sure.
of this. But you're like, well, actually, look, he's clearly somebody who is very highly skilled in certain areas and very athletic.
Yeah.
My only, again, watching it back with a more, I should never watch this movie again. That was the problem. But watching it back with a kind of more critical eye, I just don't understand where the bomb is going. That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
my issue. It's like, here's a bomb in the middle of this room full of people. Oh no, that's quite scary. Now I'm going to hoist it up, and he unclips it at the very end. It's pretty much on the roof at that point anyway.
Yeah.
And then he rolls it down. So I just I never really got what's happening with that bomb. Where's that going?
I
Like,
don't know. Yeah. I don't know why they'd want the bomb elevated, to the top
guess
of
to
the, I don't
Below
know.
the roof, and then it falls on everyone.
Maybe?
Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah. Yeah. There's not a good reason why they need to get the bomb up. And I
They
mean,
just need
they need it
the
in.
flying Graysons involved. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah. But I mean,
But I do
it's
like the comical, like it's just like a giant ball with a giant clock, and it's
Yeah.
very comic book.
Sure. I love the costumes, the Flying Grayson costumes that become the Robin costume later. I love how bright they are
Yeah,
here. I think it's a great scene. I love the whole circus scene. I love Harvey coming in, and I love his threat. Threat to kill everybody, and I love Edward watching, and like he's eating popcorn, just stuffing his face, and he's loving this seeing Two-Face like holding the crowd hostage and all that. So
how could you tell he liked it?
and I think it
was
really
so subtle.
yeah,
I think it really keeps Two-Face in the picture as well, because
Yeah,
when you've got two villains, and it's true they kind of team up, but obviously it's Nigma's got this very personal agenda against Bruce Wayne, and it would be easy to kind of almost forget Two-Face if there's not again so I think having him be responsible for the death of Dick's parents just brings in that another kind of emotional level where you're like, well, now there's no way this guy's just gonna kind of disappear and we're not gonna keep coming back to him or thinking about him. So I just think it kind of does a nice job of, it's quite clear what everybody's motivations are, why people would work together, why people are going to do what they're going to do down the line.
yeah.
Again, it's a simple scene, but I do feel it just ties, because I think we're critical of the writing dialogue, like, with everything. But I do think there are a couple of scenes where you're like, that's just a good scene to bring a couple of different pieces of the puzzle together in one scene, and we've got it all there. Even later when he finds out Bruce is Batman, and he's kind of like, if you told him who you were, my parents would be a lot kind of
Sure.
You get all of these little bits. I like this movie, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I'm going hot and cold on it as we talk about it.
Sure.
At the moment, I like it.
I think this movie does a really good job of balancing all the characters. I mean, we've basically got 5 characters that kind of matter. The 2 villains, 2 heroes, and Chase. And I think everyone gets a decent amount of screen time. And, honestly, Bruce might suffer. Well, maybe a little bit Chase. But I think they managed to pull off, like, you're getting Riddler's origin and Robin's origin, and then obviously Bruce and Two-Face are more established. And Chase comes in. I think that manages to handle all these characters pretty well. I know that I actually just learned over on Batminute, they're doing their Batman and Robin season, and of course Poison Ivy is in that movie. But I guess they brought in Nicole Kidman. They wanted her to be Poison Ivy in this movie. I guess they decided no, 3 villains wouldn't work, so they rewrote her, I guess, to be Chase Meridian. I think is a good use of her. I think I'd like her. I don't like Poison Ivy in Batman and Robin, but I don't know that Nicole Kidman would have done that role any better. But I like the way they use her here. So I guess it just goes going on to repeat the point that I think they do a pretty good job with everyone's time in this movie.
Yeah, it is quite a lot to juggle, especially
Yeah.
with, the sheer character of each character.
Yeah.
But, there's something that I just realized thinking about the circus scene.
Mm-hmm.
There is a lot of people going up or down chutes, tunnels, or shafts in this movie.
Oh, yeah?
Because Tommy Lee just randomly pulls up the center of the center ring
Sure.
and goes down a hole.
Yep.
Batman goes down like a weird chute thing later to the underground.
Down a big ladder,
Obviously,
too.
there's the, island. There's
Yeah.
a lot of tunnel action. There's the bat chair into the tunnel,
Yeah.
like to the bat gate. Like, there's a lot of tunnel work here.
Huh.
I don't know what that means, but it's
Yeah.
just something that popped into my head.
That's interesting, yeah. Maybe that was just like, how do we get someone out of this scene? Well, we do a tunnel.
I think you need to have a chat with Dr. Chase Meridian and
Yeah.
see what she's got to say about somebody including that many tunnels in their movie, because there probably
So
is some.
what does it mean if I see people going in and out of a hole a lot? Especially when Batman shoots out the hole at the Riddler's area.
Oh, yeah.
There's something to that.
Yeah. I gotta say, like, we meet, Dick Grayson, played by Chris O'Donnell, and it's just, I think it's a little unfortunate that they went with, college age Dick Grayson, played by, someone who's obviously in their 20s. I kind of wish that this Robin was, I don't know, 13, 14, 16 maybe.
Oh,
Because he's kind of
no
meant
way.
to be 16, I think.
Yeah,
Although they do say college student, so maybe he's meant to be like 19, but
19.
I don't-
Yeah.
because of the way he plays the angsty, and he did just lose his parents, so he has a right to be angsty and moody throughout the rest of the movie, but I just think it would work better if he was younger.
That was my question, because he does say that he's leaving because he wants to avoid social services.
Yeah.
So is he not even 18?
I don't know. That's the thing. Like, I don't know. Because
Then he says Dick Grayson, university student.
yeah.
How
So-
old do you have to be to ride a motorbike in Gotham?
It's Gotham. You could be 12 probably.
Yeah.
Who knows? But yeah, I mean, he's obviously not a teenager physically, but
Yeah.
the wording makes it seem like he's 17 based on that social services comment.
Yeah.
Like he's doesn't want to get put in an orphanage.
Right. I mean, because it's so it's odd that Bruce Wayne adopts this adult man. There's just no way
They're
to get
partners.
around that. Yeah,
They're
yeah.
partners.
But I guess like if you think about the '60s, '66 Batman, like Burt Ward is not playing a
Yeah.
13-year-old kid there either. He's definitely
No.
like a college student, which works. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I love the Batman the Animated Series Robin origin. It's like a 2-part called Robin's Reckoning. It's a fantastic origin because it's also like told through flashback of like, oh, that's right, because Batman gets a lead on the guy that killed his parents, and so Robin's trying to Robin wants to take him down, but Batman's trying to do it so to spare Robin the pain of confronting this guy. And so while that's going on, you get flashbacks of when Robin lost his parents and when Bruce took him in and all the hardships and things like that. So there's some of that in here for sure, but yeah, just it's tough with
Robin's a tough character.
yeah.
Yeah,
And the
especially
thing
as-
is, like, I like Chris O'Donnell. I think he does a decent job. So it's unfortunate that like the performance I think is good, but it should be a different character. I think, or different. The character should be different. I think, but
watching it back, I mean, I've said like how certain things have changed in my eyes watching back. I actually think I prefer him now watching it back than maybe initially. Like,
Okay.
or maybe just I kind of exaggerated the bits I didn't like too much in my head in between seeing it and watching it back. I actually think his behavior throughout is pretty good, and it's pretty. It makes it makes sense what he does, why he does certain things. It's a hard, because this is 95 that this is coming out. We've yet to see, apart from, as you said, Burt Ward, like a live action Robin in any of these movies. But Dick Grayson is already Nightwing in the comics for quite a period of time at this point. So you're kind of almost fast tracking him into that role. It seems, right? And it almost feels like that's what they should have done, almost. But it just, again, normal people. That sounds bad to us. Your average moviegoers will probably know who Batman and Robin are, and will never have heard of Nightwing. So it absolutely makes sense. But he almost feels like he's more Nightwing than Robin at this point, anyway.
Yeah, and especially in Batman and Robin, he's just playing.
He's got the
just
costume
Nightwing.
pretty much.
Yeah, he's got the costume. He is playing Nightwing in the sequel. It's just they couldn't call the movie Batman and Nightwing because everyone would be like, who the hell is that?
But
it'd be intriguing.
Yeah.
But it is, again, one of the situations where it's almost like I don't quite understand why Bruce even took him in, because he doesn't, he just sort of, I mean, apart from the whole kind of, you can fix the bikes up, he almost takes no interest in what he's doing. And he's and he's just constantly like, no, and it just seems a weird sort of why take him in the first place?
Yeah.
And also, on that note of the motorbike thing, there's just one thing that always stands out to me is the food that Alfred brings out. And it's because, again, we're trying to work out how old this kid is, right?
Yeah.
And he brings out, and like, I'm not sure what it looks almost like a roast dinner, like to me, as like as a Brit. It looks like there's Yorkshire puddings on there. Huh. Maybe I'm wrong. And then a wine glass of milk.
I never noticed that.
Did not even notice that. Yeah.
I think the food is a burger and fries. He's got the bun top kind of off to the side, and I think he's got onion rings on top of the burger. That's what I see.
To be honest,
McDonald's meal.
I get distracted by the wine glass of milk. That's what really.
Sure. Well, I mean, he's a growing boy. He needs his milk.
Maybe it's a White Russian.
Yeah.
I haven't taken many notes because, as I said, I remember this movie far too well. But my other issue is the Robin story.
Okay.
Like, the Robin on the helmet that doesn't look like a Robin, but anyway. And then the whole story of why his dad gave him this nickname of Robin makes no sense.
Yeah.
My brother's wire broke. I swung out and rescued him. My father said I was his hero. I'm with you at this point. He said I swung in or I swooped in like a Robin.
Flew in like a Robin.
Nobody says that. An eagle, a falcon, a hawk, fine. A Robin? He wouldn't have been able to catch him.
Unfortunately, they're hamstrung with this name. I mean, he's been Robin for 80 years. They have to use the name Robin. So there's nothing that they can do about that at this point, So they've got to come up with a reason to call him Robin, because I forget what the origin of the name is in the comics.
Robin Hood, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah, I think he wears the little pixie boots and kind of dresses like a little Robin Hood. Not with all the green, color, but some green. But I think that's the nod that they're going for. So you can't really do that. I don't think you can tie Robin Hood up with trapeze, circus act kind of. So
especially not in the same universe where you have Green Arrow.
Yeah. So it's an unfortunate. We've got to come up with something for this name, I guess. But going back to Bruce Wayne and how he interacts with Dick, and I there's a good balance, I think, of Bruce not trying to be too fatherly in this movie, because he knows that he can't be this adult man's father. He needs to come at this more like a sympathetic friend and try to be his friend. I think that works. I think that's to this movie's advantage. That I think Val Kilmer plays it perfectly. He never tries to tell him no, you need to stay here under my roof. I'm responsible for you. He's like, well, the gas pump's here, if you're going to need to fill up before you get to Metropolis, and, stuff like that. I like, the way he handles him in the scene in the garage with I mean, if you could fix one up, I mean, you could keep one, just telling him you can stay here. I'm not going to tell you have to, but here's some reasons you might want to be here for just a little while, that kind of thing. So
I agree. I think he does all of that very well. That's where I'm just kind of what's his end game?
Yeah.
like, did you have any intention of bringing him in to the Batman life,
Right.
or
No,
not?
yeah.
And if not, like, again, why? Because again, going back to your kind of how sort of psychoanalytical a lot of this movie is. You know, even there later when he's talking about like, what's your goal? You're going to kill him, and then what? Like, and what's going to happen? How's that going to affect you? How's that going to
Yeah.
leave you? Like, that's all very interesting. I actually quite like they bring all of that in. So it could, you know, maybe they could have lent into that a little bit harder. Of like, he kind of knows that this is what he's going to do. That
path,
this is a kid
yeah.
who's going to want revenge. But that's where I always like the idea of him like bringing him in and being like, look, don't just, instead of revenge, how about be there to make sure it doesn't happen to someone else? Like,
Yeah.
you know, join me on this. That could have worked. I don't know. I mean,
I think that's part of the way the animated series and some of the comic, you know, Robin Year One. I think some of that handles it that way. It's like Bruce realizes, okay, this kid is going to go down a path of destruction. You know, he can either destroy himself, or I can mold him into, you know, becoming this kind of this weapon, you know, essentially, and he can make sure it doesn't happen to anybody else. And yeah, I like the comic motivations when it's used that way rather than just because what is Bruce's plan? You know, I don't think he intends for Dick to become part of this whole life, but
I
it
assume
really
there's just guilt.
Yeah, because
for
it's
letting
kind of
it
just
happen.
yeah. Well, that's definitely a factor.
Even though his flashback says he'd never let this happen again to anyone else.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that's where it's coming from and why he takes him in.
Yeah.
good point. Well done.
Speaking of
Just
the flashbacks,
edit out everything I said, Travis. That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
we do start
And,
getting those flashbacks, and I think they're really done well. Like I did forget that there's you get the Wayne murders here.
We still get the backstory.
Yeah, but I think it's done right. You know, it's just enough. And I like that it's more about the funeral and dealing with the loss of his parents, not dealing with the death of his parents, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the whole journal.
Yeah, it's not fixated on the event itself, but the aftermath.
Yeah, I like that this movie goes into that more. I think there's been talk about it in the last couple of years about what's called the Red Book edition of this movie. Supposedly there's there's a director's cut of this movie that exists that goes a lot more into this psychology and Red Book and stuff like
There's
that.
a 4-hour Snyder cut of Batman Forever. Is that what you're telling me?
Something
Oh, wow.
like that. Yeah.
Okay.
I gotta say, from here we get I think the movie starts to drag. I as I was watching it, because it's like a 2-hour movie, and as I was watching it, you know, we got Robin, you know, Dick is in the picture now, but then it's like we cut to this random kind of cat and mouse scene with the Batmobile and the Two-Face chase that starts out with, and it's not really preceded by anything. It just happens to be like, I guess Bruce's
The bat signal goes up and then
okay,
smash
that's
cut.
right, yeah, and now they're like on this car chase of honestly, I think that scene could go. Like, it's a fun enough action sequence, and you get some Batmobile action, but we don't need the Batmobile going up a side of a building, because that I don't even know where to go with that. Like, but this sequence doesn't go anywhere. You know, it's just a showing
action
that there's
for action's sake.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Does that not then? Is that after saying how well I remember this movie? Is that not then directly preceded? That's just before he meets the Riddler? Am I right?
Yeah.
Or have they already? Because I feel like is that not like maybe just the lead into that? Because he kind of, I think his first line is something about like the bat's stubborn refusal to expire. So I kind of get the idea that maybe it's again they've tried to get rid of Batman and they failed, and he's come home and he's a bit frustrated, and then he meets the Riddler.
That is, yeah.
But again,
that is
absolutely does not need to be there.
right. Yeah, you don't
I'm not
need.
justifying this.
Yeah, you don't need Two-Face to be even more angry that Batman's still around, you know, in order for Two-Face and Riddler to meet up. But I guess it helps to build that frustration, I guess. But I just noted that, like, as I was watching it, I'm like, I could do without this, because seeing the Batmobile go up the side of the building, I've always wondered, what does he do when he gets up there? You know, how does he go
lowers
from
himself down?
I don't know. I've always like.
Even how does he drive up the site? He can't drive up the site. He uses a grappling hook around one of the many very well built gargoyles by the sounds of things.
Yeah.
And actually, he wouldn't be driving up, would he? He'd be like pulling himself up, like winching himself up. But you're absolutely right. He gets to the top, and there is nowhere to go.
Right.
There is, again, I would love to just recut this with a few extra scenes. And one of them is him just kind of waiting for it to be clear for him to then go back down. Sort of like reverse away.
I don't know. I don't know. That's why this frustrates me, because it's like, explain how he gets out of this scenario, you know?
I'm picturing just a Gotham littered with Batmobiles on rooftops. Like he just leaves them there.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
I was
way.
literally just thinking the same thing. I was thinking the whole, like, if Spider-Man's webs didn't dissolve.
Yeah.
And there would just be like webs. He's just got these Batmobiles hanging around where he's just sort of like, oh, I'll get that one later.
Yeah.
Come in with the Batcopter and the winch and pick it up.
Well, and like they kind of, you know, I don't think it's an homage to this, but they do a Batmobile tumbler, you know, on the rooftops of Gotham. But then, like, he uses the jump jet or whatever. He uses that to go from a rooftop to a nearby interstate, you know, highway that's elevated enough to get from point A to point B. But here he's going vertical, you know. Like,
and I actually think that might be the worst part of that movie of Batman Begins. I just, for a movie that seems so kind of, this is Batman but grounded in reality, that scene is ridiculous and should have been cut. I don't like it. Well, welcome back to Real Comic Heroes, where we're reviewing Batman Begins.
That's ridiculous. Let's get back to talking about a car getting lifted by a gargoyle.
That's right.
Somehow getting on top of the roof and not just dangling there for all time.
And then you follow this Batmobile chase with, then we go to the Riddler, and this is where he's still working on this identity, and he's you know, using his computer, and he's testing out other looks, you know, Captain Kill and the Puzzler and just these other lame ideas. And, you know, I could do without that. Like, that scene doesn't really, I feel like that doesn't need to be here. I think if he had just gone from, the last time you see him is in his lair or whatever, you know, this little shoebox apartment is, go from that to him in the next scene where he's just in Two-Face's, you know, place, and that's where you meet him. I think that's fine. I don't think we need this scene of him figuring out how he's going to become the Riddler, but maybe it's, I don't know, maybe you guys feel differently. I don't know.
What's he doing on the computer? That's always been my question, even when I was 7 or whatever. Like, he's like sort of photoshopped his face very badly onto a statue. He's putting these kind of random bits of costume across. Then he looks at that weird mannequin thing he's got in which that's to earlier point of, like, literally we see him when he comes home and he's like, guess what I did today, when he killed his boss, and we see that. And I think if then we had just seen him appear dressed as that, like, there's enough breadcrumbs there, right? But he you know, he can't make his mind up. Then he sees the mannequin, like, hitting the light bulb, the question mark thing, and he's like, thank you, and then he starts typing. What is he doing?
This is one of those weird, like, they think it's futuristic or, you know, hyper futuristic technology of, like, if I just tap or type into Photoshop, I'm gonna
no, you were right.
Print
my costume. What's he doing?
yeah, mashing the keys. Yeah, I don't know.
He's typing like on a typewriter. He's like one finger up, down dramatically. Like, I don't think Jim Carrey knows how to use a computer, unfortunately.
Yeah. Then we go to the Two-Face's lair, which I like the set, you know, decoration. I like the space that they build for Two-Face here. I didn't notice until this, watching it here, you know, we start out like a kind of a close-up on Two-Face, you know, and he's screaming about Batman, and then it kind of pulls out a little bit, and then his two henchwomen, you know, come in, and then when we fully pull out, and this is a continuous cut, when you can fully see Harvey from head to toe, if you look off into the right-hand side of the screen, Riddler's there. He's just hiding out in the background, like waiting for his cue. It's real weird because he's just standing there. It's like he's hidden enough by some of the architecture of the room, but it's just distracting now that I saw him. It was like,
That makes sense
he's
now.
he's just waiting for his cue to enter, like, once I hear, Two-Face say this, I'll walk in. Like, it's a bizarre, I don't know, maybe on the day they didn't realize, like, oh, you'll be in frame, I think it's just a weird setup, so.
That
it is weird,
kind
'cause,
of explains my
later
question.
He grabs the. Were you going to say why
sorry,
does he
go.
have the devices in?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
That
Because
kind
they've
of
also
explains
managed to
that.
prepare 2 meals
Yeah.
Yeah.
and set them up on that table. So people have been coming in and out of that room for a while now.
I tried to
he's-
look and see if you could see the box device on the in the scene before they show up, but I didn't see them. But yeah,
That's what I was wondering. Where the
Right.
heck did he get those? Because he was just twirling that cane like a madman. And I didn't see any bulges of boxes anywhere on his person. So maybe he was there for an afternoon and strategically hid things. I don't
Yeah.
know. That's weird.
the scene
didn't notice
itself, I think, is really fun. I like their
Yeah.
meetup. I like it's very sexual coming from
Yeah.
Riddler. Like he's playing it very I don't know. It's really sensual almost. It's odd. But
I mean, again, fitting the tone of this movie perfectly.
yeah,
then.
no, yeah.
Speaking of that, I like that the Batman movies went a different direction from Tim Burton because parents thought it was too gritty and violent and sexual. And this is what they ended up with because of that.
Right.
Yeah, we'll take
This
the
is-
grit and
I love
violence
it.
out. You're happy now, yeah?
Make it super sexual.
Yeah.
But I forgot Drew Barrymore was in this.
Yeah, she always kind of surprises me because they don't make a big deal about it, and she doesn't have a lot to do, but yeah. She's there.
I was like,
Debbie
huh,
Mazar
okay.
is the other lady.
Yeah.
I really only know her from like Empire Records. It's kind of my big Debbie Mazar connection, but
Yeah, I've seen her in like a million things. She's one of those actors,
yeah,
like where she's in like everything. It seems like.
Yeah. But she's not as sort of...
But-
it doesn't hit you the same way Drew Barrymore being there does.
yeah,
No, yeah.
yeah. I like the idea that Two-Face has these competing, personalities down to this degree. This is the fun aspect, I think, of the split personality sort of thing. 2 meals, the room split down the middle, all that stuff I like. The whole, Riddler showing off or demonstrating the device. I love that as soon as Harvey gets a taste, he wants more. Like, I like that he is instantly addicted. It's a good way to show, like, oh, okay, this is something people once you get a taste, you'll instantly be addicted, basically.
Yeah, I just didn't get how that device helped him find Two-Face.
No, yeah, that doesn't make
Like,
sense to
wouldn't
me
he
either.
have had to use it on him or a associate or something to figure out where Two-Face is
I
later?
don't know. And maybe it's because like they talk about when he's
Boosting his IQ. Maybe it's
yeah,
just
I think that's it.
He's just smarter so he can work it out kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But he still needs
there's-
to have Bruce Wayne there to figure out who Batman is.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Moving on.
Well, yeah. I
was
mean,
thrown off by that.
definitely make a note of that because that's basically the agreement, right? It's like, oh, don't kill me. I'm too easy to kill. What about killing Batman? Wouldn't that be the ultimate goal? So at this point,
Yeah.
Harvey Dent, Two-Face, it's very clear his key objective is to kill Batman, right? That's it. So
Yeah.
I will remember that a bit later. I'll come back to that.
Yep. Yeah.
But I just wanted to make sure we were all on board that is the only
Yes, we
reason he
are.
has teamed up with the Riddler is
Yeah.
in order to kill Batman.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yep, we are on the same page. And I'm sure the movie will stay on that course.
There's like the montage kind of setting up Riddler or setting up Nigma as this like titan of industry and all that stuff, which is kind of fine. Like it took me a long time like to realize that when he's first debuting the box and he's at his like Nigma Tech location, like that's the island later. Like for some reason, like as a kid I never put that together.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you've got like Dick is trying to figure out the whole like what's in this room, why can't I get into this room? So I like the the scene with him getting into the Batcave is cool. I've never understood, like, once he gets in there, the alarm that goes off.
The alarm that just reveals everything.
Well,
Yeah.
It's like a car alarm that starts your car.
but even just like literally, I don't understand the alarm because it sounds to me, because we hear it here and then you hear it when the Riddler gets in.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's saying intruder occultic.
Alert.
But
Oh, I heard intruder alert.
I
heard
don't
intruder
hear the
alert.
word alert. It
No,
sounds
no,
like it almost
Oh,
sounds
I
like
hear
they're.
alert.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Weird. I don't hear it. It's almost to me sounds like they're trying to say intruder acknowledge, like acknowledge your presence or something like that. Because I hear a completely different sound.
Because as you said, we hear it twice, and when we hear it the second time, Jim Carrey is literally like, intruder alert, intruder
I
alert,
know,
shut
but
up," right?
in that-
So he says it back. But that's what it's saying. It's just a weird alarm system that also, like, because you could get in there and just think, as, you know, a la Batman Begins, it was part of the, you know, underground railway kind of, and it's just a weird secret area that this billionaire has. But what happens is it turns on the computer, it brings up the Batmobile, it like just... It's sort of like, da-da, this is the secret, well done. It's just so weird. And actually, what annoys me is just unlock the door. If you had a room locked and it's like, what's in there? The silver. Just open it and show him. Just go, there's all the silver, so we keep it locked. And it'd be like, oh, that makes sense. Moving on. Instead of building it up to a mystery, because actually, if he'd got into that room any other way, he'd have got in, seen that like shelving unit, and gone out.
Well,
but because of the force at which he enters the room, because he's done all those flips and swings and whatever,
Parkour.
he's sly. Parkour is a word that means something else now, right? Just after The Office, that's what I think now is
parkour. The weirdest part is
I wish he'd shouted that now as he jumped into the room. Parkour and then slides through through the bookshelf and down the stairs.
The like added weirdness is like he watches Alfred go into that room, even if he had managed to like get in there without the use of like sliding through the door. Where the hell is Alfred? You know, it does. You're right. It makes it weirder that he enters this room and then disappears. You know, so. Yeah, he would have been better off showing him, this is just a silver closet, and then that's that,
If you polish all the silver, we might let you keep a piece.
Yeah.
That's the Wayne Manor barter system, apparently. Fix it up and you can have one.
I think my favorite thing about that is, okay, so he crashes in, it's dark, intruder alert, all the lights go on, is that Alfred's just walking around in the dark at this point. And stumbling through the Batcave until he falls through and all the lights go on. I'm just picturing Alfred in the dark stumbling around at this point.
Right.
Like, that makes no sense.
Yeah.
Why would Alfred have, like...
Not tripped the... Yeah, not... Why wouldn't the lights come on?
Well, not even not
without
tripped it, but why wouldn't he put the lights on? Like,
right. Yeah,
why would he be walking in the dark?
He's just saving money, isn't he? The electricity bill at the Batcave must be enormous anyway.
He's got bat goggles on so he can see where he's going.
Yeah.
I just like the reveal of Alfred just standing there. It just made me laugh. It's like the computer, the Batmobile, and Alfred.
Man, there's still so much of this movie.
Well, there is so much going on. It is like an ADD fueled like ride. Like, everything's going on all the time.
Yeah. Because this leads into, like, you got Bruce and Chase are kind of on a date, like, at her place. And there's been the whole, like, you know, oh, I like you. Oh, I've met somebody. You know, the whole, like, Bruce, Batman, and Chase lover triangle, I think I could do without for sure. But
they're always messed up as well. Like, it's the whole Superman, Clark, Lois Lane thing as well.
Yeah.
It's kind of messed up that the one person is both of the other people and knows that, and then the one in the middle doesn't, and then they kind of react in a bit of a weird way about it, and you're like, well, it's not their fault that you are two people. Like, that's very much on you at this point.
And a side note, I do not like seeing a smiling Batman. It is utterly creepy.
Yeah. That comes after the like party. Because this
There's
is like
so
them,
much we haven't gotten to.
I know. Because this is like the bad thing is like this is a good scene of Bruce reacting because he's having like one of his episodes, seeing things like during the daytime. That's again the stuff that I really like in this movie is him dealing with the psychosis of all this stuff coming back and all these nightmares or daymares that he's having or whatever. I think it really works, but then it's interrupted by Alfred calling on the Dick Tracy watch, which is fun.
Oh, yeah.
No, sir, the other car.
The other car.
Yeah. Now you wonder at what point Bruce would have stopped listing off the different cars he owns.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one with the fins.
The one car that I would call you about.
Yeah.
Good action scene though, like following that the joyride, the Dick taking the Batmobile joyriding and
His
getting into some trouble.
Was he soliciting prostitutes?
I don't think he was shopping. I think services may have
he
been
said,
offered
"Hello,
to
ladies,"
him.
and
Yeah.
He opened the Batmobile like he was trying to get something.
Yeah.
Just saying. Very weird.
Right.
And then they diss him and call him Batboy. And then he calls himself Batboy later on.
Yeah.
Or Nighthawk. Or whatever. Nightwing. Or I don't know what he
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I like the blacklight action.
Yeah, I do too. I actually like this.
It's stupid, but I kind of dig it.
Batman Forever.
this-
It's stupid, but I kind of
Stupid,
like
but
it.
That's my synopsis. We're done with this podcast.
Okay.
That's my ending.
Yep.
Can't say it any better.
Yeah. This scene totally works for me too. I like the gang's like neon theme.
Yeah.
For some reason, this part works.
Has a very Batman Beyond, Batman of the Future kind of
Yeah.
feel,
Yeah.
doesn't it? Yeah.
'Cause,
No,
yeah,
I like it as well.
And they're like, all the gangs kind of have their own theme. Yeah, this gang's theme just happens to be like weird, like voodoo masks or face paint and blacklight. So that takes us to like the party, that Edward throws where he's showing off his success and gets all the people to unknowingly get into the box. And I guess it makes sense if this is all an elaborate trap to find out who Batman is, but I don't know if it plays like that.
My again, watching this back not as like a 7 or 8 year old, but with my world weary eyes now. If you were at a party where they were just inviting a lot of different people to go into a room where you will have your fantasy on a monitor for everyone else in the party to see, that's
No,
risky,
thank you.
right?
Yeah.
I'd be worried about what some people's fantasies are.
Point.
Yeah, I've always had that same thought of like, I don't want everyone outside the room watching what my fantasy, because you don't have any control. I mean, unless you go in there like, okay, picture myself wearing a bunch of jewels. Picture myself wearing a bunch of jewels. Like, I don't know if that works.
No,
Yeah.
I'm guessing not.
Yeah. So.
That would be awesome, though, to get this redone in a really messed up universe. And there's just like a guy that goes in and he turns into like a furry or something, like really weird and kinky, like just bizarre. Or you have somebody that turns into like they're in Grand Theft Auto killing a bunch of people, just like these totally bizarro like fantasy visions on the monitor.
Yeah, like your id. Like if it brings out the darker things that you can't help but think about sometimes or whatever. Yeah, that'd be interesting. I think as I was watching it here, and we do go in and Bruce Wayne does enter into the box and it gets turned on, and then he starts to go down his. We don't really see much of it here, but just imagine this movie directed by Tim Burton and then starting to play into the dark nightmare. What are Batman's nightmares? With this giant bat and everything. So I think it's like I like thinking about like what would Tim Burton have done with this? The idea of like nightmares and dreams and things like that.
Yeah. But also, isn't it supposed to be his fantasy? So should this just be, oh, my mum and dad weren't killed and I have a really nice, happy life? And then, like, well, clearly he's not Batman. Move on.
Yeah, it's that scene in Harry Potter where he's looking in the mirror and it's like, oh, he's got his parents with him.
Well, the voice thing was almost custom made. Like, tell me your deepest, darkest secret, and blah 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 blah. It's not talking about your fantasy. It's talking about like a hidden fear for just Bruce Wayne, apparently.
Yeah.
So he must be suspicious of Bruce, or like, because they set it up like taking out the power, then putting it back in.
Right.
Is he just wanting to find out something humiliating about Bruce?
I think that's it.
Wants
he
to take him down, and it just works out.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Okay.
I think that's it. I think it's, I want to get Bruce Wayne into this because I want to know Bruce Wayne's secrets, you know, and it just so happens that the two align. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And of course,
good.
What's that?
Oh, I was like, good.
Okay.
The movie's already long enough. So.
Yeah, because this leads into an action scene that it is good. This action scene in this part, the Ritz Gotham, I think is really well done. Like Batman crashes in and does some good fighting, and we haven't really talked about the bat suit, but the range of motion that he's able to do in this is much better than Batman and then 89 or Returns. So
yeah, I liked the Riddler's line about the entrance.
Yeah, his
made me
entrance
think
is good.
of yeah.
Your entrance is good.
Made me think
His was
about
better.
it made me think about Jack Nicholson's line with like where'd he get all those toys or whatever.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It was it was kind of similar, I should say.
I mean, I think the rest of the action stuff is notable, but I don't really have any notes on it. Like,
well, he goes down a tunnel.
Yeah, another tunnel, and then you get Robin shows up to save him, and the fiery thing. So,
oh yeah, I love
it's all
the
good.
cape that's like indestructible.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I remember
around him.
I remember that
Yeah.
sticking out in the novelization that I read, that he hits a button and it does somehow creates it explains it at least in the
force
book,
field of sorts.
No, it's like it's some kind of fluid that hardens around him or something like that. Like it almost kind of like the shields on the
Weird.
Batmobile in the first two movies.
Yeah.
Like it's something like that, but it's I don't know.
Protects him from concussion, heat.
I don't know.
Fire.
So,
It's just weird.
yeah.
So one question on this scene then.
Yeah.
Is Robin wearing a cape?
No.
No.
Yeah, no. I remember seeing the where he's like kind of twisting while he's bringing him up, and there's no cape.
Okay.
I
good.
think
I forgot to look out for it, and it was after the fact that I was thinking he doesn't have a cape. Why would he add a cape? Because he wouldn't have had one as a trapeze artist.
Yeah.
And later he has one with the new costume, but again, classic, when he became Nightwing, the first thing he did was get rid of the cape because actually he's acrobatic and it's sort of a detriment having that.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I can't remember if he has a cape added for this one scene or not.
The cape is part of the costume when they introduce the Flying Graysons. Like I think the mom, is wearing it, and then it's like
they kind of unclip it, don't they?
Yeah, so it's like they use it for
dramatic flair.
Yeah, exactly, and then they take it off when it's time to perform.
Risk their lives.
Yeah. So the whole Batman's reaction to what the hell do you think you were doing? I think that's a bit much considering he never
just
really
saved
put
your
him.
life.
Yeah, he just saved your life, and he didn't try to take on Two-Face and his goons. He just came in for the rescue. But then that leads to the whole Batman No More portion of this movie that is completely unnecessary. I think it's too little, too late. It's suddenly Bruce is I guess the only way to stop you is to shut all this down, or maybe it's because I'm into Chase Meridian and now I don't need to be Batman. And it's that's not Batman to me. Batman would never shut all this down for a petty reason I got to stop this one person from following me in those footsteps, or he would never doom Gotham to while there's active crime going on with Two-Face and Riddler now. I don't know. It's just so bizarre, this out of nowhere Batman No More shoehorn segment of the movie, because it also doesn't last. We're heading into the third act, and it's this goes nowhere. So,
This scene where he's asking, "What were you thinking?" felt like it should have been after he saved him from the neon blacklight crew.
Right.
Because that, he literally was saying he was Batman, stole the Batmobile. People know he lives with Bruce Wayne. Like, that's a bigger deal, I think, than him masking up and saving him. Like,
yeah, I think you could like edit this movie a little bit and cut out some of that stuff and merge kind of those scenes, together. And
because it falls flat. It serves no purpose other than, I could stop you if I want. Like, okay, walk away.
I think Alfred gets a good line there.
Oh yeah,
that thing of young men, was it young men with a mind for revenge need little encouragement, they need guidance. I think that's a great line. And
it is, yeah.
And that's actually spot on as well, isn't it? Because that's what he needed. He just needed someone to, he's got that rage, he's got that.
He needs someone to help him focus. Yeah. So.
And Alfred's seen his laundry moves, so he knows he can handle himself.
That's right. He knows he can fight a pile of laundry. So, the next scene is Bruce and Chase. They're upstairs. They're having a date night at the Wayne Manor, and this is another sequence that goes into one of these waking dreams that Bruce has. Because she knocks over the roses. That, of course, takes him to the death of his parents. The roses falling on the ground. Which is another great sequence that leads us to like the wake for his parents, and then him taking the book and running out into the darkness and discovering the cave. And you've got Bruce like narrating all of this, talking about becoming like Batman, essentially. Like he discovers that finding the symbol kind of thing, using it to strike fear into the hearts of criminals, sort of thing. And then that it I think is ruined by Chase. Like, instead of like trying to help him, like sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Because he's like, I need to tell you something, and she's like, okay, it's okay, you can tell me. And then she kisses him.
Yeah.
And I think, as a psychologist, if she was trying to help someone have this breakthrough, I don't think kissing them would be the right thing to do.
Yeah, she's literally goes, "What are you trying to tell me?" And then stops him being able to use the thing he needs to tell her anything.
Yeah.
It's and you're right. Up until then, he has also basically said, I found this symbol. Right. I would use this symbol. I would go into the night. I would stop one and then another and another. It's like, what are you trying to tell me? I mean, I don't know how much clearer I can make it, to be honest, Chase.
Yeah.
Like, at this point.
Do you remember that Rorschach test?
It just... You're right. Yeah. You remember that door I kicked down? It's just, I have a hard time with, like, this moment, this important, like, breakthrough moment being a romantic moment, So, because it's like, you're already using Chase Meridian as this, psychologist character. Don't just use her as the love interest character. Like, use her knowledge and character of this psychologist. Like, you let her have a strong scene in that way. So, but they don't.
I found that overshadowed by the trick-or-treaters at Wayne Manor.
Right.
And me trying to see what Alfred's giving them, because they deserve a lot of candy for making that walk. And
well, as the kids are walking away, you do hear one of them say, like, "So much candy" or something like that.
Okay, good. Okay.
I did have the subtitles going, so
I picture that manor is in the midst of like nothing. Around it.
Well, he says, like, there's not a gas station around for miles, so
that's what. Yeah. So, and I didn't see a parent in a van.
Nope.
Like,
just kids out on a 20-mile hike to Wayne Manor. Halloween
I just
night.
picture them walking the street and the Batmobile almost hits them.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I don't know why. That just distracted me. Like,
yeah.
I was like, wait, why are these kids here? That, and it was Halloween, and I had no idea.
I know. It's like, hey, this is a Halloween movie. And
like,
there was no...
It was very much how can we have it that they get into the Wayne Manor, like, without any issues? What would be a good excuse to have people randomly turning up at your house in the evening? Oh, yeah, it's set at Halloween now.
Well, the other part is the old, what was it, Batman Returns? No, Batman, the original one, just Batman. he's got cameras all over the place.
Yeah.
But now he doesn't have one at the gate or at the door or anything.
Yeah,
Well,
there's
when he
the
decided to
Riddler-
shut down being Batman, he went like all the way. He's like, not only am I not going to be Batman, I'm not going to have basic home
Yeah.
security at this point.
well, the
Going-
Riddler shows up, puts that thing on his
Yeah.
gate. Like, there's no cameras on your gate, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
Well, the pantry's locked, so
yeah.
we got that. That's the extent of their security, and a horrible peephole that could be easily exploited,
Yeah.
and a geriatric butler. Yeah, we're safe.
Yep.
Good call.
Yeah, I think another great action sequence, storming Wayne Manor. I like Bruce and Chase kind of fighting off the goons, and she gets in some good shots, and like Harvey just kind of sitting on the couch just watching all the action and kind of laughing when his goons get punched. And yeah, this is kind of what you were talking about before, of him just constantly flipping the coin to get the result he wants.
Yeah, I have a few. I guess this is maybe one of the scenes that I had the most issues with. One, because the only reason that like Bruce Wayne would sort of throw a fight is to keep his identity a secret. But it's kind of clear at this point that that's unnecessary because they've come.
Right.
Chase knows who he is. They've come looking for him. And I mean, would Batman have been overpowered in that situation? Like, could he not have fought them off? That's kind of one thing that sort of sits with me a little bit. Is it
didn't have
seemed
his
really like?
toys.
Does he need? I don't think he needs them. Does
Right.
he? Not for that.
He at least needs that one that makes them go.
Yeah, that's true. All right, you're right. If he'd had that, it would have been a game changer.
Yeah.
And then obviously you've mentioned the multiple flipping of the coin. He shoots him, sort of, grazes him.
Yeah.
He falls
Yeah.
down the
Raises his
stairs,
head.
and then gun to the head.
Oh,
It's over, right? This was why you teamed up with the Riddler
Yep.
because actually, I'm going to even go a step further than just being like kill the bat. That's the plan. He said, "I will help you solve the greatest riddle of all, who is Batman." At this
Done.
point, you've solved that riddle.
Yeah.
You know who Batman is, and he is unconscious at your feet, and you have a gun to his head. There is
Yep.
no reason for Harvey Dent
No.
not to kill Bruce Wayne at this point.
Right.
Yeah, he just
And
flipped the
potentially
coin
the
telling him
Riddler
to do
too.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
What was the whole
that,
point of flipping it? Yeah. No, I'm,
So
yeah,
that,
it was.
and then also the cane that the Riddler is using that can
Oh, yeah.
open
The
a
magic
normal door
Yeah.
and security doors and set off bombs, and that was just even in this universe,
Yeah.
that felt like it was pushing it a little bit too far at this point.
Yeah, the
And,
blowing up the Batcave it's kind of fun, but it's to say
the
it's a
mask.
little over the top is
Yeah.
probably an understatement, but
It's his mask character. Like
exactly. Yeah.
He's transforming into all these characters while he's blowing
For
up
no one,
stuff
for no
that,
audience.
that is
for himself.
meaningless because he misses 2 bat vehicles, a new suit. I don't know where
Different
Robin's suit
location in
was,
the
but,
in the Batcave. So
but still, it's like if you're gonna blow it up, blow it up.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Wasn't very effective, is all I'm saying.
Well, we needed something to take us into Act 3.
Especially when your lair is in an island.
Yeah.
Who
get
cares
the boat
about a
and the
car?
plane.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
Just
That's funny.
saying.
That's a good point. Well, there must be a road there. Well, I guess everything could have been taken there by boat.
Yeah, boat. Yeah.
Helicopter. Yeah. I wrote down for like the start of Act 3 is kind of like when Bruce is waking up. Alfred's kind of bringing him around, and I just like that quote from Parks and Rec, like everything hurts and I'm dying, because Alfred like lays it on him, like he's waking up from getting this bullet graze head wound, and he's just like Master Dick has run away. They've taken Chase Meridian. The Batcave has been destroyed. Just everything.
And your parents
hurts.
are still dead.
Your parents are still dead. I'm old and not going to be around much longer.
Yeah. Here's my
For
notice.
some reason,
I'm leaving.
yeah, yeah, that'd been awesome. It's like
Enigma
that
Tech
really
is
hurt when I got
outselling
hit.
Wayne stock
Oh,
2-1.
Yeah.
We have no money.
Edward
Voted
Nigma
sexiest
needs a
man of
butler. He's
Gotham.
hired me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he did get hit with that question mark cane, so maybe it's like the Loki Pokey stick, and now
Yeah.
he's working for the Riddler.
That's right.
I mean, it does everything else.
Yeah.
But I will say, Jim Carrey has got excellent cane work.
He does, yeah.
Yeah.
He can twirl that like nobody's business.
Must have done the. I think I have a bunch of these trading cards from this movie. It's another thing that like part of the marketing, and I was really into the trading cards for this movie. I'm pretty sure one of them, the back of the card says like a quote from Jim Carrey. Is like he broke so many of these canes across like his leg, his back. You know, like trying to do these little cane stunts. They weren't like it's not like breaking a steel rod across, you know, but they were strong enough to work with. But yeah, he still like broke a bunch of them trying to learn how to use them.
And you're just like, of course,
I'd like to
because
see those
everybody
outtakes.
knows a cane is such an integral part of the Riddler's character.
Yeah.
So how could he not have had that?
I know.
Seems-
It's to make him more exaggerated because Jim Carrey needs that
Yeah.
to add more craziness to his performance.
Well, talking of more craziness to his performance, that final outfit.
Oh man.
Oh,
Which
yeah.
one? Because he unveils the light up jacket one, and then he goes into the white jumpsuit one with the big hair, and
I think that's the one I'm thinking of.
Okay.
as
Yeah.
The light up jacket, we've been told it has a purpose. It's for jogging at night. That's fine. I'll accept that.
Yes.
right.
Jogging at night in a neon city that is constantly lit up. It's understandable that you need a jacket that lights up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
The whole like Batman tests out. He's got the one suit left, and he's asking Alfred like by sea or by air, and Robin pops up. Why not both? Like that whole like this scene I think still really works. Music's good. The partner line is solid. Them teaming up is I think a great way to kick off this kind of action
doesn't quite
stuff.
quite fit with the Master Dick has run away line that Alfred
No.
just dropped on him moments
Yeah.
earlier. Ran away, but I did give him a costume and told him to come back in 20 minutes to have a boat ride. It
Yeah,
seems
there's not
little
a
bit-
good
It's
connection
shoehorned.
there of how he
Yeah.
how he knew to come back. I guess maybe Dick could have heard like, oh, did you hear Wayne Manor got trashed by Two-Face and Riddler? But I guess that makes it you'd have to imply that or infer that a lot of time has passed. Enough. I don't know. So it all just kind of all gets crammed together here a little bit, but this scene is still solid of them teaming up.
It just made me realize that Alfred can do a good job butlering, cooking, fixing cars,
Yep.
and building suits.
Yeah,
So he's got it all.
he's the
Shout out
jack
to
of all-
Alfred.
yeah,
Needs more credit.
he's the hero of the picture.
Yeah. He's the one that gets Robin into the lifestyle, kind of. He nudges him.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
it kind of leads into the two bat vehicles. You get the boat
Ugh.
and the
Yeah.
bat wing, like the updated bat wing. Just like the other ones, like these are very short lived.
It was so annoying. So annoying.
The battleship game I think is probably the low part for me in this movie. Like, I found it really obnoxious and kind of annoying.
It's just Adam West Batman. I mean, that's basically what it is.
Yeah,
It's super campy and cheesy.
the hard part I had a hard part with is like they've got this console that has light up buttons that say bonus and
Yeah.
like
It's completely over the top and insane. Yeah.
but
Again, it's stupid.
it's amped
but
up.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
And I mean, it acknowledges that, doesn't it? Because when he gets to the island, and there is a proper Adam West Batman line, right? Because
Yep.
Robin's like, "Oh, holy rusted metal." He's like, "What?" It's like,
Yeah.
"It's metal. It's full of holes." Oh yeah,
Oh.
unbelievable.
I think this sequence annoyed me by the fact that we got to see the Bat submarine for 2 seconds
Yeah.
before he just ejected himself out.
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell was the point of that other than for toys, I guess?
Pretty much. Yeah.
I'm like, I thought he was going to like rescue him with the submarine. I didn't think he'd just torpedo himself out.
Yeah. I had forgotten that
I
too.
totally forgot.
Yeah.
It's like we went through all like, why didn't you just use the submarine to start with? Like, but I did like the henchmen that were just randomly waiting in a section of water.
Yeah. And like because they're so like the henchmen are shown like they're giggling all the time, and even underwater you could hear them like muffled like the entire time, like just to show us like, oh yeah, these are still Two-Face's goons.
All right, well, we made it to the Holy Rusted Metal.
Yep.
The Riddler's lair becomes fully erect, and we begin the climb up the shaft.
Yep, there you go.
Nothing to see here, folks.
Nope. Yeah, I mean this climax. it
writes itself.
Yeah. It really is just a Riddler showcase. It's just Jim Carrey going full on. There's like a brief, moment you get with Robin and Two-Face. Like that little fight, is great.
That's good.
Like Robin looks amazing fighting off Two-Face, and he takes him down like really quickly, and then has like a nice hero pose doing it. So that whole sequence where he learns like, oh, I'd rather see you in jail, is a great moment.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it's all Riddler.
Yeah. Which ends very, kind of fizzles out, doesn't it? Really,
a little bit.
It's not like the ultimate. But again, the Riddler's not a physically imposing character, is he? So you wouldn't expect kind of a drag out brawl between the two of them.
Yeah, but then just to
It is just
weird.
a batarang to a lampshade.
Yep, that's yeah.
And
Just
why
break
are they
some-
dropping through the same hole? Like the
Yeah.
same, like I thought it was going to go down two different tubes, but it's
it's not two big shafts; it's one, but
Yeah,
they're
that
they're
makes no
both
sense.
positioned because the entire platform that they're on top of is above that
that's
big
the
shaft.
same thing he climbed up. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but their little tubes that they're inside of are each over a small hole. And then for years and years, I didn't realize this until watching it one time, and I realized like, Batman comes up, he's kind of in the middle, and then after he destroys the, whatever the big light that he destroys, half of the floor that's like behind Batman, it disappears because if you watch, pay attention, like it's there holographically. So I guess that's part of the whole. This device can create holograms. So like half of the floor isn't even there, which makes sense why Batman's able to jump down after both of them. But it's kind of a blink and you miss it. It's like suddenly half the floor is gone. So
Maybe this is obvious to everyone, but and I'm trying to think of how to explain it. But didn't Robin just become his partner like 10 minutes ago?
Yeah.
But the Riddler knows that.
well, I mean, they've captured him.
Set up. Well, no, but like his one and only partner, and like that was the plan to have him choose between Robin and Chase, but he didn't know about Robin until just like that moment. Like I don't know. It was a weird. Like he had Chase, I get that, but what was going to be the other part until Robin fell into his lap?
I don't know. I guess there must not have been another. Well, they knew that there were two vehicles approaching, so I guess they know that there's Batman suddenly somehow has a partner. So.
I don't know, it was just weird.
Yeah,
like,
it
just happened to work out that way.
Right.
His one and only partner he just got.
Yeah, and Alfred is like, sorry, I build the car, I made the suits. We're giving a bit
raised
too much credit to Robin here.
Yeah. That's a good point. The one thing the last thing I have a problem with here is, once Batman saves the two and they're kind of collecting themselves on this kind of steel girder, kind of in the middle of this big shaft, that wasn't there when the death trap was lowering on Batman earlier, but whatever. Two-Face shows up, and then we've talked about, like, he uses the coins as his undoing. Yeah. Until this time, never had a problem with it before, but this time watching it, I don't think it's right that Batman kills Two-Face. I mean, doesn't flat out kill him, but causes him to fall to his death.
He knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. So, because like Robin had already decided vengeance isn't the way.
Yeah.
He'd rather see him in jail. So I think I'd rather see I think I'd rather see Robin shoot out a grappling line and catch Two-Face, like snag him, and then just know, like, no, he's going to jail, like, and Robin turn to Batman and say, death isn't the answer, like, he needs to, whatever, serve time, whatever, like, but then that way Batman knows, okay, this kid has learned that death isn't the answer, because Batman has been telling him, like, hey, death isn't the answer. And then when they're finally like face to face with it, Batman essentially kills Two-Face in front of Robin. So I think it would have just thematically played better had one or both of them tried to save Harvey at the end here.
Yeah, or if instead of like them all being deposited, I'd say like when he drops and he kind of, because Robin's sort of freed himself a little bit, he could have kind of got caught and maybe thrown to a slightly higher ledge or some other area, and then kind of maybe at the end swooped in and kind of taken Harvey out, but again not killed him, but like swooped in, saved the day on that side, and sort of been like, yeah. I think you're right. It sort of undoes all of that.
Yeah,
the whole point of him being like, I'd rather see you in jail. Oh, right. Well, I'm not going to get that dream then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. This is one of two moments in the movie we remember Harvey is Two-Face, and that him and Batman were friends or allies, but then Batman just cold blood doesn't even try to save him, kills him. Like, it's messed up. Like, it's a messed up way to end that.
Right. Yeah, but I like the subtle, like the not subtle. I like the little moment there of of Harvey saying, "Yes, Bruce, of course, Bruce, you've always been a good friend." I like that, because even in the animated series, there's a couple episodes where you see Harvey Dent before they even turn him into Two-Face, and he and Bruce are friends, or at least colleagues or contemporaries. But
he's like, "Yeah, sure thing, buddy," and you're dead.
Yeah.
Smash cut to Arkham.
Yeah, first time seeing Arkham.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. If you kill all the villains, then I guess you don't need to take many.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I guess Riddler's the first villain to stick around.
Yeah.
Yep.
Joker died.
Yeah.
Catwoman maybe died, but she didn't.
Yeah.
Penguin died.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, I like the ending here. Enough. The whole Enigma being a wacko.
And Batman, apparently.
Yeah.
And we get Alfred creepily looking at Bruce and
I noticed that.
Chase making out.
He's really into watching those
Alfred's
two make out.
Excellent, Master Wayne. Excellent. I've taught you well.
Yeah. I think that's Batman Forever. I do like them running towards the camera at the end. That's a nice, like, I guess for this movie, I think it works, but
yeah, it's just a stylized ending. It's a random tunnel with a bat light.
Well, I think it's
running.
idea that they're they're on a rooftop. They're responding to whatever the threat is, and they're running off for further adventures.
All right. Well, it has been an adventure.
Yes.
Ups, downs, questioning. Do we like this? Do we not like this? What the hell is this?
I think it sounds like we all enjoyed it, but have some problems with it. But overall, are like, yeah. What was your quote?
It's stupid, but I love it.
Yeah.
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 Well, let's figure out what we think is like the most heroic and most villainous, and let's start with the most heroic.
I believe there's a hero in all of us.
I just finally know what I have to do.
That keeps us honest.
I'm here to fight for truth and justice in the American way.
Gives us strength.
You will give the people of Earth an ideal to strive towards.
Makes us noble.
And I know in my heart that it's right.
I got, or I guess Dick at this point, saving the circus.
Yeah,
like
that's
him and his family.
That's mine too.
Oh, okay.
We're going to go free for free because I also had
this
mention as...
Yeah.
And I think I've got like 4 points. The circus, I mean, and I break down that they save the circus, and that's without any training or anything. Just they're like, we're in the right place. We can do the right thing. When he fights the street thugs, a similar situation. Like, he's outnumbered, he sees someone in trouble and he just jumps straight in and
Sure.
he's like, "I'll save her," and then the whole not killing Harvey at the end,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which actually was funny because I started watching this, then I had to go and pick my son up, whose name is Harvey,
Oh.
and went and came home and was finishing up watching it, and he's like, I can't promise I won't kill Harvey. And he's like, is he talking about me? So did he promise not to kill me? I was like, yeah, don't worry about it, you're fine. So,
You're fine, buddy.
so that was good. But
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
I
And then
think
you throw a bunch of coins at your son.
Yeah.
only when he's trying to make a decision.
Yeah. No, I think Robin does get all the good
Yeah, Batman
hero
sucks.
moments in this movie.
He kills a guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think we found the villain, Batman.
Yeah, there you
Jeez.
go. Any other villainous moments then?
This planet, these people, they are nothing to me.
You were made to be ruled.
The universe's power. You unstoppable power. Come to me, son of Jor-El. Kneel before Zod. And I am that force. I am that power.
In the end, you will always kneel.
Kneel before your master.
I can stretch one, but yeah, you go.
Mine is Two-Face killing the Graysons. I mean, it's tragic, them falling from that height in front of everybody, except Dick in the moment. Like he's still being the hero, doesn't know that his family has just been killed. So it's such a tragic ending for them. But
Yeah, I also again I really wanted a funny answer, but I don't have one. Harvey Dent is the clear villain. He is far and away the most villainous. I think even at the very beginning where he kills his own man.
yeah,
When they're in the helicopter and his sort of Batman's cape is on the window. So it's not like, oh, he's trying to shoot Batman. He's just angry and frustrated and he just starts firing
yeah,
in front of him where his own men are, and he kills one. Then the circus thing, and the irritating thing is he was right about the circus.
Yeah.
Batman was there. He absolutely could have killed him in Wayne Manor. And then even at the end, right, when he's like, no more, curtains 1 and 2, he kind of realizes oh, I should have just done this
right.
ages ago my way. Why have I been listening to this idiot? That's yeah.
I think Batman's maybe his most heroic moment is the coin thing. At least I'm going to save these people and myself by making Harvey pause and do the coin thing. But
I would say Batman's most heroic moment was probably when he was willing to reveal himself to save everyone at the circus.
Yeah.
Out of
Yeah,
character
that's true.
moment, yes, but maybe the most heroic moment. And I think he genuinely would have done it because when Dick confronts him about, if you'd been there, my family wouldn't have died. He says, if Bruce Wayne could have given his life to save your parents, he would have. I think he genuinely would have done that. But hey, that would have been a short movie.
yeah. Where we at? Patrick, what's your villainous?
I guess we'll go with Edward and his former boss.
Oh,
In
okay.
that sequence. I mean, that's chucking him out the window, saving
Yeah.
his equipment, letting him drop, sucking his brain out. That's pretty villainous.
Yeah.
With a honorable mention to Bruce Wayne's hiring skills and selecting him personally.
Right.
Questionable
never met,
hiring
but
practices.
Your name
Yeah.
was on the hiring slip.
I kept it.
Yeah, I have it.
Yeah. I just Bruce maybe should have had security when he started talking about brainwaves and his disturbing response about I need an answer now. That's not good enough.
Yeah.
Like, what else does that guy have to do to get HR involved?
Right.
If you met him and then he says to you, "Look at us, two of a kind," how offended would you be?
Yeah. I'm just saying that there were some signs that somebody may not have been completely stable, and Bruce was too distracted by the shiny light outside.
Yeah.
But anywho,
Well, what about ratings and final
Oof.
thoughts? I can go first if you guys.
yeah, please do.
like nostalgia wise, it's a solid 5, but like growing up with it and watching it, with adult eyes, like it's a 3, I think, for me. I still enjoy watching it, but this time around, like I said, it really dragged in the middle. I would really like to go at this with some editing tools and cut it down and get rid of some stuff. But, like I said, I think even if you cut out some stuff, I think there's still the movie's handles all the characters, like I said, I think really well. I think everyone gets a good enough chunk of time devoted to them. I think for having 2 villains and 2 heroes, like nothing feels like it's weird, because I do think we could cut things out and still have enough movie with what they've got left. So I don't know. Somehow they've managed to edit it really well, and also like left a bunch of stuff in that didn't need to be there. But no, I do enjoy this movie. The huge tone shift from the Burton verse to the Schumacher verse, I don't have as big of a problem with anymore. There for a while, I struggled with this movie of like, it's too different. But now I'm in a good I can accept this movie for what it is, and I like Kilmer as Bruce Wayne, and he's fine as Batman. Okay. Yeah, overall, it's a 3 for me.
After you, Patrick, I'm so intrigued to know your rating.
Well, I feel better now. You guys made me feel like I was insane a little bit, but I also went with a 3 on this. It's a hard one to deal with because it ironically is a two-faced movie. Like I said, it's stupid, but I love it.
Yeah.
Like they do some good things, they do a lot of bad things. It's a weird tone. It's like serious psychological looking into the psyche of Batman, but it's also Jim Carrey grabbing his crotch and saying joygasm.
Yeah.
It's it's all over the place. But I can see how this movie inspired the future superhero movies going forward, especially with juggling multiple characters like that.
Yeah.
And just the daunting task that is in itself to handle. There was, nods to the Adam West Batman, to the Burton Batman. I mean, it had a ton of action.
Yeah.
Probably too much. Like we said, everything's at 11 in this movie. But I don't know how often I'd go back to this movie.
Right.
Every so often I could see it being a fun, like, oh, it's on, let me see where this is at kind of thing. But it's not like a great, film by any means, but it is popcorn, and you just got to be in the right set of mind to watch this movie, I think.
Yeah.
So I'll go with a 3.
Jason?
See, I'm kind of with you guys. I feel like I'm falling between a 3 and a 4.
Yeah.
But maybe leaning closer to the 4. But
Sure.
But not quite there, like a 3.8, something like that. But we'll do whatever's easier for your rating system. And I think it's just that very last thing you said, Patrick, of like, you've got to be in the right mind to go back to it. I don't think you do. I feel like this is a movie that, I wouldn't necessarily go and seek out, but I don't think I'd ever have a problem to watch it with somebody. It's almost like, oh, let's put on a Batman movie, and they put this on.
Yeah.
And I do think other Batman movies, I would maybe want to be more like in the mood to no, this is one I really want to sit down and watch carefully, or I'm just not feeling it today, kind of thing. Whereas I feel this, you can just let it kind of wash over you, and it's enjoyable. Going back to it, yes, there are just a few things I just kind of think I don't understand why this decision was made, or why you would do that, or as I said at the very beginning, like I'm quite happy with the kind of crazy, it's a comic book movie, so physics doesn't really apply and all of that. And that's fine, and you can keep that across the board. It's the more kind of character decisions that just don't make sense that kind of knock a few points off for me.
Right.
And obviously, it is a movie. It came out in '95, so you've kind of got to keep that in mind. But at the same time, I don't think it's nearly as dated as other movies of the year. I don't think it sets. I don't think there's anything where you're like, oh, that's just.
Yeah, like we just did. Tank Girl, and that felt really dated, and we're coming up on like Judge Dredd, that I'm sure is also going to feel weird. This one does kind of just work, like time wise, because it's it's in that weird, vague. We don't know when this is set. It's because it doesn't feel like a '90s movie. And
I like Val Kilmer. I think he's a good. And again, it's like now looking back, we've had a variety of people play Batman, and we've seen really good Batmans versus this person's got a really good Batman but not a great Bruce Wayne, or this one's a really good Bruce Wayne but not a great Batman, or this one's George Clooney, and we've got like these sort of differences there, and I just feel like Val Kilmer, I think he fits nicely in both roles quite well. I would be really intrigued to see his new project that's coming out, that like documentary where he's just shot loads of stuff over the years. I wonder what Batman stuff might be on there, because that could be quite interesting, especially with when you hear the kind of what was going on with Jim Carrey and Tommy Lee Jones. I'd love it if he got some of that on camera. Fantastic.
Can't sanction your buffoonery.
Yeah. So I think I still think there's a lot going for this, and I enjoyed it, and I felt comfortable to still have it on and have my my son in the room at the same time. I wasn't like, oh, there's going to be something kind of too much for him.
Sure.
So
I see, son, a joygasm is when you.
Yeah, you're right. Should have put headphones on. But
you see, that's what Batman's butt looks like. Seriously, it looks like it's uncomfortable.
But I do think this blends nicely the different. Like we've referenced kind of, it's very similar to the Adam West Batman here, or this is very much the Tim Burton Batman. And I think there's a little something for everyone. And if you go into it in a nice kind of non-judgmental, relaxed mood, everyone would enjoy it. Everyone who has already seen this movie, because we are not, it's an old movie, right?
And I think that's it. I'm used to the more serious Batman, just with like the cartoons and, the more recent Batman series, so the goofy Batman isn't what I'm used to anymore.
Sure.
And I think that's where it just, I have to get in that mindset that we're going back closer to Adam West than to Nolan.
Yeah, but it almost feels refreshing at this point.
Yeah,
like a kind of a palate cleanse.
Yeah, I mean, Nolan's Batman I think it stayed around a little too long. One movie too long.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see the new Batman with
I am too.
Yeah.
Pattinson.
Man, I'm just thinking Twilight now. I can't remember his name.
Oh, Robert Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson, yeah.
I'm really looking forward to that, and I can't wait to wait however many years it takes for you guys to get around to reviewing that movie.
Yeah.
I think I'll be 50 by the time we get there.
Right. So, I mean, that's been Batman Forever. Jason, thank you for joining us, and tell the listeners where they can hear more of you.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, to be honest, if they want me to guest on their podcast, that would probably be the best thing for them. The easiest place to find me is probably on Instagram at Jason CF Media, because I kind of use almost like a CV of all the different projects that I'm working on. So I'm still running the podcast for my gym. I teamed up with a couple of other guys, and we do a podcast called Plate Stack Chat, where it kind of came out of the lockdown when we could all still kind of work out and train at home, but we missed that sort of weird conversations you'd have with people at the gym. And so we sort of decided just to bring that as a podcast. So we kind of pick random topics we've been thinking about, and then just have a very informal but slightly informative chat about that kind of stuff. Cool. But yeah, other than that, I'm available if anybody wants to let me talk about kind of this type of stuff, Batman and sci-fi and things like that, because I don't get to talk about that much anymore, and it's a real shame.
Yeah, reach out to Jason, get him on your show.
I think we're gonna have to review Pumping Iron now.
maybe a special before Batman and Robin.
Have Jason on for that. I'm sure he has great insight into Arnold's character.
Yeah.
He is hilarious
seen that.
in that.
It's funny, actually.
Yeah, it's awesome. He seems like he'd fit into the Batman universe better than he did, but he should have been Bane instead of Mr. Freeze. Oh well, we'll get to that.
We'll get there. So we got Judge Dredd coming up as our next movie review.
All you Rob Schneider fans.
Oh man,
get ready.
Yeah, it's like a 1-2 punch of Demolition Man and Judge Dredd, featuring both Stallone and Rob Schneider.
It was the Schneider-sance.
Yeah,
it was everywhere.
Man, I've seen that movie once, so I'm kind of going into it like with
Okay.
one or two frames of the movie in my memory, but that's about it.
Eat recycled food. That's the only thing I can remember.
What's
eat
that?
Recycled food. Eat recycled food. It's
Oh.
good for the environment and okay for you. Is
Nice.
Yeah. I watched it again, fairly recently when the re-adaption came out, Dredd,
Oh, sure.
just to, comically compare the two.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've seen it a handful of times, so we'll get into that one.
So I guess that's going to do it for this one. Actually, you know what? I had some feedback from a friend of the show, Brian Lockhart, on Batman Forever. I did reach out and almost forgot to share. Brian says about Batman Forever, says, this came out the summer I graduated high school and right before I left for the Marines. My friends and I saw this multiple times that summer. I remember thinking Val Kilmer was going to be a great Batman. I think he plays a better Batman than he does Bruce Wayne, but being a fan of Kilmer's, I thought he was great. When the line halfway to Metropolis was said, my friends and I reacted the way a crowd at a concert does when the singer mentions the town they're in. That was a big, like, oh my God, it's a shared universe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Says this movie is much cheesier than Burton Batman films, but it does an excellent job of balancing the cheese with a competent action film. And then says that on the ride home from Paris Island after boot camp, I played Kiss from a Rose over and over and over. My dad was at first was pleasantly surprised how much he liked the song until the constant repeat almost turned him into Jack Torrance. He politely asked that we take a break on that song.
I forgot
Man.
how big that song was.
It's so funny. Like, I know. And it's like, it's only included briefly in the credits of this movie. So
Was it not on the Midnight Kiss?
no,
On the balcony?
that
No?
was part
Oh,
of
wow, I
the
misremembered that.
music video. Heavily
Oh,
featured
that's what I'm
stuff
thinking
like
of.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why. Okay, it just
Yep.
stayed in my brain as canon. Okay.
Yep. All right. Yeah. So on that note, I guess it's trying to think of some way to tie in "Kiss from a Rose," but
Kiss this podcast goodbye.
yeah.
As a city, we continue to grow. 73 citizen riots. Come and get us! Throw out your weapons and prepare to be judged! Judge this! Court's adjourned. Dredd, you're a legend. You are my finest student. Get Dredd, you're under arrest.
What's the charge?
Murder. The evidence has been falsified. Guilty as charged. I am not the law. I am the law.
You want chaos?
The sentence shall be life imprisonment.
I'm the chaos. Dredd?
Every crushing paw.
Excuse me? We're not together.
It's not for this council to play God. Who says politics is boring? We're going to war.
You're a lot of fun to be with, Drake!
Mr. I am the law.
We got a lot in common.
I'll be the judge of that.
Dredd, look out!
Thanks for listening to the podcast. Find the show on Facebook and Twitter at Real Comic Heroes. All music and audio are the property of their respective creators.